In a sudden accident, I pushed my husband Guching aside. We had only been married for 3 years, but was struck by an out-of-control tractor, shattering both my legs. I became a bedridden invalid. Later, though Guching, who was saved, maintained a facade of affection toward me, he secretly took a lover and spent a lifetime profiting from my work-related disability status. In the end, he not only openly moved his mistress into our home but also discarded me in a storage room to fend for myself. My own husband, together with his mistress, threw my sick and frail body out of the small storage room window, sending me plummeting to my death. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn, sent back 40 years to the very day the tragedy occurred. Sister Chingy, run, the tractor's out of control. A panicked scream exploded in my ears. By the time I snapped back to reality, all I could see was a terrified crowd scattering in every direction. Oh no. The tractor's heading straight for Guching. Guching. Hearing that bastard's name, I couldn't help but look up. Not far away, a tall, slender man stood frozen in place. His clothes, though heavily patched, were neat and tidy, completely out of place among the other villagers. I have to say, Guching was truly handsome in his youth, not only with delicate, refined features, but also with bright, lively eyes and a strong, sturdy build. It quickly dawned on me, was this Guching in his younger days? And this scene, seriously, was this 40 years ago? A series of images flashed through my mind, the collective labor of the production brigade, the out-of-control tractor, and how I was struck and left permanently disabled while trying to save Guching. And, of course, the final image of being thrown from the building by Guching and that wretched woman. In a split second, the tractor rolled brutally over Guching's body, while I, the one who should have pulled him to safety, stood there frozen. Lost in a daze. Bang, the out-of-control tractor careened into the ditch by the field, let out a final groan, and sputtered to a halt, billowing black smoke. Get him out of there. Quick, is he still breathing? It's bad, his upper body is completely crushed. The hushed whispers of the crowd snapped me back to reality. Staggering, I moved forward to see what had happened. Sis, my brother, save him, please. A clear, youthful voice rang out. I turned my head to look. Guching came running over. Dressed in tattered coarse cloth, still clutching the work hoe in his hand. Did I really get a second chance at life? A wave of disorientation washed over me. This must be 1977. It's the scene that has jolted me awake from countless nightmares. The very beginning of my wretched life. Guching was dead. The production team paid for a rather flimsy coffin, and he was buried in a plot of land on the back hill. I stood by the graveside, watching as the earth covered Guching's coffin. Beside the mound, his 3 younger brothers were weeping, utterly choked with sobs. The second son, Gu Ken, the third, Gu Yang, and the youngest, Gu Xiaofu. Unlike that beast Guching, these 3 younger brothers-in-law are all fine young men with both good character and good looks. Sometimes I'm truly baffled as to how 4 siblings, born of the same parents, could be so vastly different. I find their wailing completely unnecessary, because in their past lives, these younger brothers-in-law didn't have it easy, and Guching bears full responsibility for it. Not only did he use his position as the eldest brother to boss his younger siblings around like servants, but he was also responsible for the death of the youngest, Gu Xiaofu. Chingy, the brigade is also very sorry about what happened to Chungzi. Why don't you take a few days off at home? We'll still credit you with work points. How does that sound? Said production team leader Wang Guorong. A hand-rolled cigarette dangling from his lips as he walked over. I nodded. In times like these, if you got hurt working, you couldn't expect anyone to take responsibility. In my past life, I was disabled and had to struggle for years before I finally received any care. Besides, even if the production team wanted to offer compensation, they simply didn't have the money. Alright, it's just our family's bad luck. I don't blame anyone, it's just that my younger brothers-in-law. Apart from the second one who's a bit of a worker, these other mouths to feed, I really will need the team leader to look out for them in the future. Wang Guorong probably didn't expect me to be so reasonable. He must have breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Guching's accident happened while he was working for the production team. If I had really kicked up a fuss, Wang wouldn't have escaped criticism either. It's best that you understand. Here, take this, from now on. When we distribute the relief grain, your 3rd son will be counted as an adult. As he spoke, he fished out 2 yuan from his pocket and handed it to me. I didn't refuse and simply pocketed the money. After Guching was laid to rest, we returned home. His 3 younger brothers were still steeped in grief. After all, his true nature hadn't been revealed yet, so his sudden passing left the young ones heartbroken. I didn't know how to comfort them, nothing I could say felt appropriate, and I was afraid I might burst out laughing mid-sentence. which would have been terribly awkward. I was just sitting there wondering what to do next when a knock came at the door. I opened it to find my childhood friend, who had just been discharged from the army, Xiaojun, Guaijuan. Just hearing his name told you how proud his family was of his military service. Old Gua was a veteran soldier who got wounded in the war and returned to the village, hoping his son would follow in his footsteps. He gave him this name, Sister Chingy. Captain Wang asked me to bring you a bag of relief grain, Guaijuan said quietly. I took the bag and opened it. Inside, along with the usual millet, was a piece of pork wrapped in newspaper. My father told me to bring this. Please take it, Sister Chingy, Guaijuan said, scratching his head. I nodded and took it inside. My father and the Gua family were very close. He had me play with Guaijuan since we were kids, even joking about arranging a marriage between us, but I was foolishly infatuated and set my heart on that pretty boy, Guqing. Heartbroken, Guaijuan went off to join the army. Looking at Guaijuan, still standing there, I said with a pang of heartache, Aijuan, army life must be tough. I know how you feel, but I'm already a married woman. Guaijuan shook his head, cutting me off. I'm fine, sis, he said. There's work waiting for me at home. I'll come back in a couple of days to help when you have your event. With that, he turned and left before I could get another word in. I had just watched Guaijuan walk away when I turned around and Gu Xiaofu threw herself into my arms. Sis-in-law, my brother's gone. Gu Xiaofu is just 7 years old this year. He was originally his parents' most beloved child, which is why he was given a name completely different from his 3 older brothers. But ever since my in-laws passed away 2 years ago, Guqing became the head of the household, and he consumes more than half of the family's food. So I've watched helplessly as Gu Xiaofu transformed from a cute, chubby-cheeked boy into the thin, gaunt figure he is now, since his parents' passing. Gu Xiaofu has become extremely attached to me, often clinging to me like a little koala. All I could do was pat my brother-in-law on the back and comfort him in a soft, gentle voice. Seeing Gu Xiaofu sobbing uncontrollably, Guqin stepped forward and pulled him aside. Stop bothering your sister-in-law. She's had enough to deal with these past few days. She's exhausted and heartbroken. To myself, I thought, exhausted, yes, that much was true, but heartbroken, not in the slightest. Guqin is 16 this year, and he's grown into a very handsome young man. Actually, all the Gu boys are quite good-looking. If it weren't for the eldest, Guqing, being such a scoundrel, I'd almost want to give my late in-laws a thumbs up. In the evening, I made a simple pot of millet porridge and warmed up 2 cornmeal buns. According to the old rules, Guqing was supposed to eat both buns by himself. In principle, it made sense. Guqing was the family's main breadwinner and the primary source of work points, so this allocation was hardly unreasonable. But Guqing was lazy and shiftless. Even when he went to the production team, he'd slack off and avoid work, constantly getting his work points docked by the foreman. So with a family of 5, only Gu Can and I could earn a few measly work points. That's why life was so hard, otherwise. With 3 able-bodied workers, 1 adult and 2 older kids, supporting 2 younger ones would have been a breeze. We wouldn't have had to live so hand-to-mouth. Breaking from routine, I divided my cornbread into 4 portions, giving 1 to each of my 3 younger brothers-in-law, and we ate it with millet porridge. After the meal, I set the relief grain Guaijuan had brought on the table and said, Guqing's life was only worth this much. What I mean is, you take these things and go live at 4th Uncle's house from now on. I'm heading back to Shenjiaji. The 3 younger brothers were stunned by these words, and the youngest, Gu Xiaofu, burst into tears with a wail. Gu Yang slammed his bowl down on the table and snapped, What are you crying for? With our eldest brother gone, why should anyone keep freeloaders here for free? Gu Yang was only a year younger than Gu Can. He was a good student, but proud, in our past life. If Guqing hadn't insisted on staying home to earn work points, Gu Yang would have definitely become a college student. I let out a bitter laugh and said, Xiao Yang, don't be angry with me. 4th Uncle's family has no children. You'll be much better off living with them than with me. But you can go to 4th Uncle's house. I can't. In the previous generation of the Gu family, there were 4 brothers in total, only 2 survived. My father-in-law and 4th Uncle Gu. 4th Uncle never married, but he was a proper craftsman, castrating, slaughtering, and butchering pigs, earning him the nickname Gu 3 Cuts. Whenever there was a pig slaughtering job in the surrounding villages, they would always call on him. This brought in a tidy sum, so his standard of living was much better than that of an ordinary family. I said slowly, as long as I'm in Gu family village, you have no reason to go to 4th Uncle's house, so I have no choice but to return to my parents' home. My brothers-in-law fell silent, all of them knowing what I said was true, At that moment, Gukan suddenly spoke up, "Sis, I'm not going to fourth uncle's house. If someone has to go, let Xiaofu go. I know you have no family left on your side, sis. Going back to Xinjia village would just mean facing cold shoulders and scorn. We don't want to see that happen to you. Besides, I'll soon be earning full work points." "Things aren't going to get any worse than before," I sighed, putting the millet and pork away in the cupboard. Shaking my head, I said, "Turning down a better life, are we? All right then, it's settled. Since you're staying, from now on you'll have to listen to me." Hearing this, my 3 brothers-in-law all got up, clattered the dishes and chopsticks off the table, washed them, and then retreated to their rooms. I sat alone in the room, pondering my future path to wealth and prosperity. And while I was at it, I thought about how that adulterer had already been run over by a car, and how I should deal with that slut next. Wu Xiaofeng, the one who threw me off the building, sister-in-law. Time to get up. Early the next morning, Gukan's voice reached my ears. I groggily opened my eyes and saw the meal laid out on the table. I knew this was the result of my younger brothers-in-law's efforts to prove themselves useful, having started their busy work first thing in the morning. I nodded and said, "Tell Xiaoyang and the others to come and eat." Gukan scratched his head and stammered. "They went out early this morning to gather pigweed, hoping to trade it with the team for some extra rations to help out at home." Hearing this, I was quite displeased. Frowning, I scolded, "How old is Xiaofu? How much pigweed could he possibly bring back? And Xiaoyang, is he not going to school anymore? What about the college entrance exams? This is utter nonsense. Go and bring them back." Breakfast was the usual millet porridge and sweet potato buns. After a few quick bites, I headed to the brigade headquarters to find Captain Wang. After Gu Cheng's burial, we still had to host a meal for the villagers who helped out, so I needed to get a chit from the production team. According to the commune's rules, a family with a funeral could use an official requisition slip to buy meat from the supply and marketing cooperative. I rummaged through the bottom of the trunk and found a few banknotes, which added up to a little over 10 yuan in total. Later, I'd go to fourth uncle's place to buy some cracklings, stir-fried with some greens. That would be enough to settle the matter. Then I'd be done with that bastard Gucheng for good. As soon as I arrived at the brigade headquarters, team leader Wang handed me a chit. "I figured you'd be coming for a ration chit, so I wrote it out in advance. 5 Jin. 5 Jin was the maximum a production team leader could authorize. Anything more required approval from the brigade headquarters. I took the chit and thanked him. £5 is already more than I'd give. If I weren't worried about the village gossips, would I throw him a feast? I'd throw him a feast in his damn dreams. Just as I was about to leave, team leader Wang Guorong called out to me, "My bicycle is in the backyard. Go ahead and take it." This bicycle was a reward from the commune when Wang Guorong was named a model worker. It's the only one like it in the whole village. Wang Guorong usually doted on that treasure more than his own wife. It seems they only lent it to me because the village felt some responsibility for Gu Cheng's death. I stuffed the approval slip into my pocket, hopped on my bike, and headed for the commune. I didn't expect to run into Guaijuan on the way. "Xiao Jun, where are you off to?" I stopped my bike and asked. Guaijuan recognized me immediately and broke into a wide grin. "Chingy," he said, "a buddy from my army unit sent me a package. It's waiting at the commune supply and marketing co-op. I was just on my way to pick it up." I nodded in understanding and glanced at the empty space on the back of his bicycle. What a coincidence. I need to go to the co-op myself. Would you mind giving me a lift? "Heh, sure thing." Guaijuan was a good-natured, straightforward fellow. Though not the sharpest tool in the shed, he didn't give a second thought to the fact that I was a recently widowed woman and simply started pedaling with me on the back. We chatted idly as we walked, and he told me some amusing stories from his time in the military. Sitting sideways on the back seat, I held lightly onto Guaijuan's jacket, and my thoughts drifted back to my past life. In that past life, after my accident, Guaijuan came to the Gu family to see me more than once, but each time, Gucheng would give him the cold shoulder, often making sarcastic and snide remarks. He stopped coming after that. I heard he later joined the coal industry system and became a fairly high-ranking official, though it seems he never married. I was stuck at home and couldn't move around, and Gucheng wasn't about to wheel me out for a stroll, so naturally, I wasn't too well informed. Before long, we arrived at the Shinji Commune Supply and Marketing Cooperative. Guaijuan went off to collect something from someone on the street. Meanwhile, I took the chit and went to the meat counter. The young guy behind the counter glanced at the chit and was about to cut the meat when a woman who came out from the back stopped him. I saw the woman whisper a few words, and then the young man walked over and said to me, "Sorry, comrade, but we're all out of meat here." I was taken aback, realizing that woman was up to something. I had seen that face countless times in my past life at the Gu residence, and it was the last face I saw before I fell. Wu Xiaofeng. She was a purchasing agent for the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, and her brother was the accountant for the neighboring Red Star Brigade. Are you kidding me? A supply and marketing cooperative this big, and you don't even have 5 gene of meat for me. The young man looked helpless. I'm really sorry. We're genuinely out. Maybe you could try again this afternoon. I knew perfectly well that Wu Xiaofeng was behind this. Even if I came back in the afternoon, I'd just get the same old excuses. Even with half a pig laid out on the counter, she'd find some fault with my ration coupon and refuse to cut me any meat. That's just how things were in those days. Having a little power might not make you rich, but if you wanted to make life difficult for someone, there was nothing they could do about it. With a dark expression, I walked out of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. Guaijuan had already finished his business and was waiting by his bicycle. I leaned close to Guaijuan's ear, whispered a few instructions, and told him to ride his bike back to the village to find Wang Guorong. Watching the constant stream of people at the Supply and Marketing Co-op, I waited for over 20 minutes before walking in. I slapped the requisition slip down on the counter and shouted, "I need some meat." The young clerk saw me come back in and said with a forced, insincere smile, "You again? I already told you, we're out of meat. Come back this afternoon." I didn't get angry, just said with a chuckle, "But I saw someone wheeling pork in. I couldn't have been seeing things, could I?" The young guy waved his hand impatiently. "Get lost." I said, "We don't have any." "So we don't." The smile froze on my face, and I slammed my hand down on the table with a crack. "Do you look down on us farmers? Why won't you sell us the meat? Or is your meat only good enough for you city folk, and we farmers aren't worthy of eating it?" In this era, the accusation of looking down on a comrade of the working class was no minor offense. Seeing me pin such a heavy label on him, the young man grew frantic. Before he could explain, I leapt onto the counter and pretended to wail, "Bring out your station chief." Shortly after, the station chief, having been briefed on the situation in the back, shot a glare at Wu Xiaofeng and came out. "Comrade, I sincerely apologize, but the Supply and Marketing Cooperative truly has no meat left today." I gave him a sidelong glance and snorted, "So you're the station chief? If you tell me you won't sell to me today, I'll turn around and leave right now. But if you tell me there's no meat, then you're just taking advantage of us farmers being uneducated, treating us like fools. If you don't give me a proper answer, I'll take this all the way to the commune secretary." The Supply and Marketing Cooperative station chief's face turned cold, and he said disdainfully, "What, do you think the commune secretary is your brother or your uncle? You can go complain wherever you like. Now, get out." Over a few pounds of meat, forget the commune secretary, even the production team leader wouldn't bother with something like this. Just then, a sharp, low voice came from outside the door, "Shin Qingyi. What's all this commotion about?" Wang Guorong hurried over and said in a hushed tone, "Qingyi, didn't we agree about Gu Cheng's matter? Why are you causing a scene at the commune?" I looked up and realized that Guaijuan must have gone back and told Wang Guorong I was making trouble at the commune. Wang, thinking it was about Gu Cheng's death in the line of duty, had rushed over in a panic. Following close behind him was Gu Tang Brigade's party secretary, Chen Guoqing. His face a picture of displeasure. "What do you mean, making a scene? Is it wrong for me to stand up for my own rights?" I retorted, stiffening my neck and fixing my gaze on Wang Guorong. Wang Guorong said urgently, "You could have come to me first. If that didn't work, we could have gone to Secretary Chen. There was no need to take it straight to the commune and make a fuss. All this over a few pounds of meat. Do I really have to go through every level of bureaucracy for that? My family has suffered a loss, and I'm not blaming heaven or the village committee, but you can't even let me hold a proper funeral, can you? If I don't get a proper answer on this, I swear I'll go straight to the commune leadership and demand one." Wang Guorong and Chen Guoqing were taken aback for a moment, then immediately spoke up, "You'll get an answer. You must get an answer. If this isn't settled today, the two of us will go with you to see the commune party secretary." Secretary Chen fixed his gaze on the Supply and Marketing Cooperative station chief and demanded, "All I want to know is, does the Supply and Marketing Cooperative have any pork or not?" "No." The station chief's reply was absolute and final. At this point, even if there was something, he could only say there wasn't. "All right." Chen Guoqing turned and left without another word. In no time at all, he actually managed to bring the commune secretary over. "Secretary Su, this comrade is Shin Qingyi. She's from our Gudong production brigade. Her husband tragically passed away in an accident a few days ago while working. Now she's left alone, a woman with 3 young brothers-in-law to raise. Yet even under these circumstances, Comrade Shen has shown great understanding. She didn't make any demands on the organization and handled the funeral arrangements herself. Secretary Sue glanced at me and nodded. Comrades with such progressive spirit are rare these days. Please accept our condolences, Comrade Shen. If there's anything you need, the commune will do its best to help you. Upon hearing this, I gently wiped away my tears and said with a sorrowful expression, Secretary Sue, I don't want to cause any trouble for the organization, but after my husband passed, the team approved 5 gene of pork for the funeral arrangements, and this supply station still refuses to give it to me. My husband's life isn't even worth a few pounds of pork. Dressed in white mourning clothes, I sat on the counter, tearfully recounting the whole ordeal, making the onlookers' hearts ache with pity. Hearing my cutting and accusatory words, Secretary Sue furrowed his brow, realizing that if this matter wasn't handled properly, it could escalate into a class conflict, a serious problem indeed. Comrade Xiao Shen, don't worry, I will definitely give you a proper explanation for this matter, the Supply and Marketing Cooperative Director, sweating profusely, hurriedly explained. Secretary Sue, I'm not entirely clear on the specifics myself. I was just told by my subordinates that there's no stock left. Seeing the director still trying to explain himself, I gave a cold laugh, walked up to him, and said mockingly, that no stock excuse won't hold up under scrutiny. Secretary Sue, I'd like to request that you have someone check today's inventory records. Let's see if this Supply and Marketing Cooperative is looking down on us farmers, or if they're stealing from their own stock. As soon as I finished speaking, the young man who had been giving me a hard time earlier slumped to the floor. Either of those accusations was more than a simple sales clerk could bear. Losing his job would be bad enough, but if he ended up behind bars, he'd be truly finished. I was wrong, Secretary Sue, it was Purchasing Agent Wu. Purchasing Agent Wu told me not to sell it to her, I said slowly. You say there's no bad blood between us, so why are you listening to some procurement officer and making life difficult for us ordinary folks? I hear that every time Wu Xiaofeng goes to the villages on procurement, she and her brother, the accountant, pull the wool over everyone's eyes, lining their pockets from both ends. Did you get a cut of the leftover spoils too? Is that why you're doing her dirty work? My words caused an uproar in the whole Supply and Marketing Cooperative. This was nothing less than undermining socialism, a far graver crime than any other. Those involved deserved nothing less than a firing squad. You're lying, the young man shouted, refusing to accept such a serious accusation. Secretary Sue, noticing his guilty look, asked sternly, there's no smoke without fire, out with the truth. The young man pleaded, I really didn't get any kickbacks, the station chief and Wu Xiaofeng took it all. I'm just a sales clerk. I wasn't even in a position to get a cut. Slander, that's slander. The station chief stood up, glaring at Secretary Sue. Secretary Sue, he said, he's just trying to shirk responsibility by slinging mud at me. To everyone's surprise, the young man also jumped to his feet and shouted, I have proof. Wu Xiaofeng's brother delivered 370 gene of meat today, but only 340 gene were logged into the warehouse. They split the remaining 30 gene between them, 15 gene each. Wu Xiaofeng already took his 15 gene home. The station chief's share is still in the cabinet in his office. Just search it and you'll find it. Secretary Sue narrowed his eyes and commanded, someone, go in there and search for it. What happened next was straightforward. Not only was the station chief thrown in jail, but everyone at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative was implicated and lost their jobs. At the home of Wu Xiaofeng and her brother Wu Dalong, authorities uncovered a staggering hoard of grain coupons, cash, and industrial vouchers. The total value, once tallied, exceeded 7,000 yuan. The affair was drawing to a close. I was riding on the back of the bicycle as we headed home. Guo Aijuan paddled and asked, Chingy, how did you know they were double-dipping from both sides? I just smiled without saying a word. I had learned all this in my past life, when I was bedridden and overheard that despicable couple chatting. Looking back now, what Wu Xiaofeng said back then was actually an understatement. That amount of money was enough to cover a decade's wages for an ordinary family. By the time we got back to the production team, word of what I'd done had already spread. My younger brothers-in-law were all looking at me with admiration, and the youngest, Gu Xiaofu, came running and squealing right into my arms. I wrestled my hand free and hoisted the 10+ pounds of pork I was carrying. Xiao Kan, I said to Gu Kan, we're having meat for dinner tonight. This pork was specially approved by Secretary Sue. On one hand, it was compensation for the unfair treatment I'd faced. On the other, it was a reward for rooting out that nest of rats for the commune. I also heard that once the final results are in, there will be other rewards. Hearing there was meat to eat, my younger brothers-in-law let out a cheer. They crowded around me as we entered the house, fetching tea, massaging my shoulders, the whole works. I couldn't help but sigh with feeling. Guqing, you died at just the right time. It was over a week before I saw Wu Xiaofeng again. Wang Guorong informed me that Wu Xiaofeng's interrogation had hit a wall. She seemed to harbor a deep grudge against me, so the commune wanted me to go and assist. Just as I reached the door of the interrogation room, I heard a furious shout from inside. Wu Xiaofeng, leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. Everyone else has already confessed. You holding out on your own is pointless. Wu Xiaofeng refused to say a single word. Even though a conviction could still be secured based on other testimonies and evidence without her confession, it felt procedurally incomplete. I turned to the officer beside me and said, "Can I speak with her alone?" The officer nodded, pushed open the interrogation room door, and called the personnel inside to step out. I entered the room, closed the door behind me, and looked at Wu Xiaofeng, head hung low, utterly dejected. A profound sense of satisfaction washed over me. Wu Xiaofeng. It's only been a few days. How did you get so much older? No woman can stand being told she looks old, not even in prison. When Wu Xiaofeng saw me, her head snapped up. Shenqingi, tell me, how did you find out what I did? I rolled my eyes and scoffed. How I found out? Does it even matter? He's dead. What exactly are you going to do about it? Wu Xiaofeng exploded in fury. That goddamn Guqing. He told me he had no feelings for you, that he was going to divorce you right away. Why would he tell you something like that? Why? Looking at the hysterical Wu Xiaofeng before me, I understood. The prolonged interrogation pressure had gotten to her, and she mistakenly believed I had turned him in because of something Guqing had told me. So I said deliberately, "Can you really trust a man's word? For all you know, our marriage is just fine." Wu Xiaofeng was stunned for a second, then shot up from her seat, cursing and grumbling. "Tell me the truth. Did he lie to me or not?" I watched coldly from the sidelines and said indifferently, "Why should I tell you the truth? We'll talk after you've come clean about all that messy business of yours." With that, I called in the police interrogators. Wu Xiaofeng then spilled the beans, confessing everything clearly and without holding back. It's shocking to hear, with Wu Xiaofeng's confession at this critical moment. The charges against the main culprits have been upgraded from mere prison sentences to something far more severe. With a strange look on my face, I turned to the officer beside me and asked, "How long would a sentence for that be?" "Long enough to get executed 7 or 8 times over." The officer scratched his head, never expecting the interrogation to uncover something this serious. Meanwhile, Wu Xiaofeng stared at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I've told you everything, Shenqingi, now tell me. Is it true or not?" "It's a lie." I let out a satisfied laugh, turned on my heel, and walked out of the interrogation room. "What's a lie? What exactly are you saying is a lie? Or is it what Guqing told me that's a lie? Tell me." Hearing the wails from the interrogation room, I couldn't help but sigh. I have no obligation to let Wu Xiaofeng die with a clear conscience. This is the retribution she deserves. It's all over, now. It's time to embrace this magnificent new era and enjoy the good life with my brothers-in-law. Next, let's listen to the following story. The day Xiaoyu said he wanted to come back. I was just about to go on a business trip abroad. The day Xiaoyu said he wanted to come back. I was just about to go on a business trip abroad. He begged me not to leave. His long lashes lowered. For the first time, his usually aloof and proud face took on the pitiful look of a stray dog. It suddenly occurred to me that not long ago, I had pleaded with him in the same wretched way. On the final day of my business trip, I declined all invitations to social gatherings. I went to the Jiming temple alone, running my fingers along the wall as I listened to the chanting of sutras from within. My heart settled into a deep calm. I picked up a broom and followed the sweeping monk, clearing away the fallen cherry blossom petals beneath the trees at the Jiming temple. The monk chuckled softly at me a few times. When we finished, he led me into the main hall. There, I emulated the other monks, earnestly seeking answers from the Buddha. 1 bow, 2 bows, 3 bows, to the heavens, to the earth, to the Buddha. 1 question, 2 questions, 3 questions, asking myself, asking my heart, asking the Buddha. I feared my heart was not sincere enough, and that the Buddha would be unwilling to help me sort through that messy business with Xiaoyu. I replayed my memories with Xiaoyu over and over in my mind, but in the end, I didn't draw a lucky lot. My master turned and asked me what I had wished for. I was momentarily lost in thought, the memories of Xiaoyu suddenly feeling distant and unreal. Then I replied calmly, just for my own peace and well-being. The next day after returning, I called my younger brother, Wan Qingfan, and told him about my decision to give up on Xiaoyu. Sure enough, Wan Qingfan let out a shriek on the other end of the line. Well, sis, look at you. after all these years, you've finally done something right for once, so you finally let go of that good-for-nothing guy. I let out a bitter laugh into the phone. Yeah, in this 6-year-long relationship, I finally found my backbone. No, to be precise, it's been 8 years. Ever since I was 18, my eyes have seen no one but Xiaoyu. My brother was still teasing me on the other end of the line, saying he absolutely had to come and get my thoughts on the matter. Well, I had no choice but to agree. We arranged to meet that afternoon at our usual cafe. So, what's the deal with you two? My younger brother sat across from me, clearly determined to get to the bottom of things. I stirred my coffee absently, unsure of how to break it to her. Ugh, looking at you, I can't even be bothered to guess. It's about Jiangran again, isn't it? At the sound of that familiar name, my hand holding the spoon suddenly went limp, and I let out a faint, non-committal Even my younger brother could see how easily Jiangran could meddle in and affect the relationship between Xiaoyu and me. I refused to believe Xiaoyu never noticed it, not even once. It's just that he was too confident that I would never leave him, confident that Wan Qingzhou's feelings for Xiaoyu would never change. Jiangran is Xiaoyu's childhood sweetheart. They grew up together, inseparable. And in terms of both looks and family background, they are a match made in heaven. They always say childhood sweethearts can't compete with a sudden new flame, but in my case, no matter how hard I try, I can never measure up to Jiangran's place in Xiaoyu's heart, and I'm supposed to be his official girlfriend. My brother rolled his eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. He started venting for me. Ugh, I just don't get that Jiangran. She was the one who kept rejecting Xiaoyu back then. Now she knows full well he's with you, but she's always hanging around, making her presence known. She's such a manipulative little schemer. Compared to my brother's indignation, I was much calmer. I'm used to it by now. Used to Xiaoyu looking right through me because of Jiangran. What's her latest drama this time? My brother asked, his lips pursed in disapproval. He's never been able to stomach how well I treat Xiaoyu. I didn't say a word. I just picked up my phone and showed him a photo. It was a picture of my balcony, with a white dress hanging there. The white dress Xiaoyu had washed by hand. Jiangran's. Yes, she wore it the day Xiaoyu and I had our families meet. I can't describe what I felt when I saw that dress on the balcony. It was as if a huge hole had been torn through my heart, letting in a cold wind from all directions. I was completely lucid, yet I felt like I couldn't even manage the simplest act of breathing. That was the day our parents had arranged to meet and discuss the marriage. I had been looking forward to it for ages and had started preparing very early. I had thought of everything, from what makeup would be appropriate and what gifts would suit his parents, to whether the cake design would be to their taste. I had covered all the bases. The one thing I never saw coming was that Xiaoyu would bring Jiangran along that day. What was supposed to be a formal marriage discussion instantly turned into a casual drinks gathering. Even the romantic candlelit dinner for two afterwards became a party of 3. At the table, Jiangran accidentally dropped her fork onto her white dress. Xiaoyu carefully wiped it for her, apologized to me, and then took her to the mall to buy new clothes. The curtain fell on the courtship ritual, and I was left to take the final bow alone. Xiaoyu left it all for me. The cold meal, the bitter red wine, the air conditioner set to an unbearable temperature. I didn't know when he came home in the night. The next morning, as usual, I gathered his laundry. My fingers brushed against a slightly stiff cardboard box, a familiar package of contraceptives, now one short. I didn't wake him in the bedroom. Numbly, I finished the chores and drifted to work in a daze. I thought this was the end of my misery, but coming home from work, a glaring white assaulted my senses. On the balcony, the white dress still bore the faint, telltale marks of being wrung out by hand. Ever since Xiaoyu became my boyfriend, I've told him countless times not to wash whites with colors that run, and that hand washing gets them cleaner. Not once did he listen. All these years together, I've had to throw out countless pieces of ruined, stained clothing, my vision blurred. Why does Jiangran get the care of his hands for just any old white dress, while what about me? I looked down at the tulips beneath the white dress on the balcony. Their petals were trembling, on the verge of falling, and so was I. My brother knew white used to be my favorite color. His fists clenched, veins bulging on the back of his hands. What does 6 years together even matter? Compared to her, I'm still a complete failure. Damn it, that bastard and that bitch have gone too far. My brother couldn't hold back his fury. He grabbed his phone, ready to call them up and give them a piece of his mind, to get some justice for me. He wasn't there on the day of the matchmaking meeting. His girlfriend was sick, so he rushed over to be with her. I quickly held her back. All right, calm down first. I can handle this. Handle it. My foot, if you could handle it, you wouldn't let them walk all over you like this. Listen to me. You absolutely have to stand your ground this time. Don't let Xiaoyu sweet-talk you into losing your head and all sense of direction again. My brother's words took me by surprise. I had expected him to, as usual, painstakingly urge me to leave Xiaoyu, complaining that I was bringing shame to the Ruan family. With a mischievous grin, I asked him, why aren't you telling me to break up with him this time? Haven't I said it enough times already? My brother retorted, his voice rising sharply as he glared at me. If you had listened to me just once, you wouldn't be in this mess. Forget it, you're hopelessly hung up on Xiaoyu. No one can talk any sense into you. My brother shot me a disapproving glance, clearly thinking I was a hopeless pushover, but he was right. No matter how much my brother had pleaded or schemed in the past, he could never shake my unwavering resolve to choose Xiaoyu. I thought I was a hopeless romantic. But my brother saw it differently. He thought I was a hopeless fool. But this time, I suddenly grew weary and tired of always chasing after Xiaoyu. I picked up the coffee from the table, downed it in one gulp, took a deep breath, and solemnly told my brother, I don't want to continue this anymore. I'm breaking up with Xiaoyu. My brother was so shocked by my words that he spat out the coffee he had just sipped, spraying it across the table. Are you serious? You've really made up your mind? Yeah, I nodded, my tone leaving no room for doubt. My brother knows me best. I'm not one to make decisions lightly, but once I do, there's no going back. Alright, I won't say any more, but Qingzhou, you really must think this through carefully. You don't have many more 8-year stretches left to waste on Xiaoyu. After parting ways with my younger brother, as it was getting late, I headed straight home. After all, it's better to clear certain things up sooner rather than later. I pushed open the front door and saw the living room light was on. Xiaoyu was standing on the balcony, watering the tulips. He was the last person you'd expect to bother with such mundane chores. I set down my bag, closed the door, and walked right past him. You've been away on a business trip for so long, and you didn't even bother to check in when you got back. Xiaoyu looked up at me, his features as handsome as ever, his expression calm and his eyes meeting mine directly. My heart tightened, and I quickly averted my gaze. I told you, I've been very busy with work lately and haven't had time to share these things with you. And now, are you finished being busy? An awkward silence fell. Just as I was about to speak, Xiaoyu broke the stalemate first. I'm sorry, I was taken aback, not expecting an apology from him. Xiaoyu paused for a moment, then picked up a box beside him and handed it to me. I was in the wrong that day we discussed the marriage arrangement. I had intended to go back and resolve the matter properly, but I looked at him impassively, took the exquisitely wrapped box, and opened it. Inside was a Tiffany necklace. I had seen it once by chance while out shopping with Xiaoyu, and I'd casually remarked that it was pretty. I never thought he'd remember. Do you like it? Xiaoyu asked me, his eyes carrying a cautious, probing look. I couldn't understand it. He clearly doesn't have feelings for me. After all these years of being his convenient distraction, what value do I possibly hold that warrants such careful testing from him? For a moment, my heart was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. This was the first time Xiaoyu had ever felt apologetic towards me because of Jiang Ran. In the past, whenever it concerned Jiang Ran, no matter what it was, I was always the one who had to step aside. I've thrown my tantrums and made my scenes, but what good did it do? I was the one who insisted on loving Xiaoyu, the one who couldn't bear to leave him, so in the end, I have no one to blame but myself. Perhaps my calmness this time was unnerving. No fuss, no drama. The day after the talk, while Xiaoyu was out, I came back alone, packed my things, moved to the company dorm, and then volunteered for a business trip out of town. I didn't leave a single word. In the past, whenever I had to travel for work, I'd worry endlessly that Xiaoyu couldn't take care of himself, practically covering every corner of the house with sticky notes. But this time, I left without saying a thing. Seeing me remain silent for so long, a flicker of panic crossed Xiaoyu's eyes as he called my name softly. Qingzhou. I didn't know what he was afraid of. Afraid that no one would tend to his daily needs or soothe his passing moods in the future. I snapped back to reality, a bright smile curving my lips. The necklace is beautiful. I really like it. Thank you. With that, I placed the necklace back into its box and set it aside. I'm exhausted. I'm going to take a shower first. I only let out a sigh of relief once the bathroom door was completely shut. I had originally planned to come back and go our separate ways. But why is Xiaoyu doing this? Is it like discovering your cat isn't as clingy anymore, so you give it a simple hug, hoping it will come back and love you again? I couldn't help but give a bitter smile, thinking back again to that night of the marriage discussion, and how I managed to get through it. My 2 hours of carefully applied makeup was ruined by tears. The dinner and cake I'd prepared with such care ended up in the trash. My parents shook their heads in disappointment, supporting each other as they left. The romantic decorations I'd set up only made my solitary figure seem all the more pitiful. All my joy, all my boundless anticipation, in that moment, it all vanished into thin air. So, it's too late, Xiaoyu. Whether it's the necklace or the apology, it's all far too late. I was utterly exhausted. After a quick shower, I made a beeline for the bed in the bedroom. Right now, all I want is a good night's sleep, to think of nothing at all. Passing through the living room, I caught a glimpse of Xiaoyu standing alone on the balcony again. A tulip leaned against his foot, and as the wind blew, its frail form seemed on the verge of toppling over. I froze in place. In that single second, a flood of thoughts rushed through my mind, which way my next step should take me, and whether there was any chance left to salvage what was between us. A second later, I began to inch backward, step by slow step, putting more and more distance between myself and Xiaoyu. The bedroom door was gently closed and did not open again. The next day, I woke to find it was already broad daylight. When I walked into the living room, I saw a deep, distinct impression on the sofa, the mark left by Xiaoyu, who had sat there all night. He wouldn't have acted like this before. His guilt towards me must be overwhelming. I became a living joke in the little performance he and Jiangran orchestrated. I wasn't surprised by his departure. In fact, I felt a wave of relief. I suppose my dismissive response to Xiaoyu's overtures yesterday was far too obvious. That's probably why he couldn't even be bothered to keep up appearances anymore. But maybe it's for the best. With all the pretense stripped away, a clean break is easier. I stretched, gave the room a quick tidy, and got out of bed. I had planned to come back and talk things out with Xiaoyu face to face, but now it seems that's not necessary anymore. Real departures are quiet ones. Saying too much just makes it harder to let go. I left in such a hurry last time that I didn't have a chance to take many things with me. I'm going to sort through everything one more time, and then leave this home for good, without a trace. But I never expected that the moment I opened the door, I'd run right into Xiaoyu, standing there frozen with a bag of groceries in hand. The atmosphere instantly became a bit awkward. Wan Qingzhou, what are you doing? Xiaoyu stared at me, his eyes wide with shock. Isn't it obvious? I spread my hands, gesturing to the pile of luggage on the floor. I'm moving out. I'm leaving this place. And I'm leaving you, Xiaoyu. We're breaking up. It was a sentence that should have been unbearably heavy, yet I said it with such unsettling ease, startling Xiaoyu, and even myself. He probably wouldn't believe it. Wan Qingzhou, who had once loved him with reckless abandon, was now the one saying they should part ways, thinking I was still sulking. Xiaoyu flung the bag of groceries aside and pressed a hand down on my suitcase. Let's arrange another meeting with our parents to discuss the marriage. Okay, I'll do the laundry properly from now on, I promise. Just your clothes. Please, Qingzhou, don't do this, please. His tone was utterly helpless, his voice softened to a pleading whisper, as if my refusal to relent would make me the unreasonable one. I felt nothing inside, not even a ripple. In fact, I found it almost laughable. All this talk, have you actually fallen for me, or is it just your guilty conscience acting up, trying to make some pathetic amends? No, Qingzhou, that's not what happened. Xiaoyu, I just need to ask you one thing. Did you use the box of condoms in your jacket? Xiaoyu froze on the spot, his grip on my hand suddenly going slack. Jiangran was in a bad mood that day when she got back. She asked me to have a drink with her. I didn't mean for it to happen. Qingzhou, please forgive me. If I forgive you, then who's going to forgive me? While my parents were looking at me with disappointment and my relatives were laughing at me, what were you doing? You were in bed with your childhood sweetheart. You knew full well I was waiting for you, yet you still chose Jiangran, didn't you? You knew exactly how much her actions would hurt me, and you didn't lift a finger to stop her, did you? Xiaoyu, are you really clinging to the hope that just because I liked you, I'd wait for you forever? You stood by and let her trample all over my dignity in front of my parents and every single relative, reducing our 6 years together to nothing. Was making her happy so important to you that you didn't care at all, even if it meant grinding me into the dirt? Is that it? Is this the ending I get after 8 years of loving you with all my heart and courage? He will never know just how much I looked forward to that day. I naively believed that 8 years of devotion would earn me a happy ending. Xiaoyu, I was seriously wondering if you would propose to me in front of all our relatives on the day our families met. In the end, I lost, and I lost miserably. I don't remember how I walked out that door. Nor do I remember the look on Xiaoyu's face, whether it was pain or regret. All I know is, I don't want to see him again. To start a new life as quickly as possible, I threw myself into my work, constantly traveling on business and moving from city to city, as if that could make me forget Xiaoyu faster, forget all the little moments from the past 8 years, only in the dead of night, when I wake from a dream with my face streaked with tears. Does the pain, so deep it feels bone marrow deep, seep into every limb, proving that I'm not invincible after all? The pain still cuts deep, a kind of agony that makes you wish for an end. Every compromise, every bit of tolerance I offered over those 8 years has turned into a weapon, slowly flaying me alive in the darkness. It's okay, I tell myself, I'll get through this, I have to. When my younger brother found out I'd successfully ended things, he was so thrilled he wanted to set off firecrackers in celebration. My family has already started making arrangements for me to meet potential partners. Not only that, she went out of her way to post "Congratulations on your newfound singlehood" updates on every social media platform. The captions were dripping with sarcasm, implying that Xiaoyu was an ungrateful fool and slyly mocking Jiangran for being a scheming, two-faced green tea type. This undoubtedly sparked a wave of gossip in my social circle, with many people expressing disbelief. The fact that Xiaoyu was the one who got dumped was particularly shocking. Some nosy high school classmates even reached out to me, trying to subtly confirm the story. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and a flood of emotions washed over me. Looking back, how much I loved Xiaoyu in college was practically common knowledge. It wasn't because he had a more striking appearance or a wealthier background than our peers. It was just that sudden downpour while I was out shopping, leaving a puddle of filthy water in a low spot on the road. A car came speeding by, sending a torrent of water splashing up before I could even think to dodge, and that's when Xiaoyu appeared. He must have just been passing by, but as he turned his head, his gaze met my panicked, flustered moment, without a moment's hesitation. He pulled me toward him, effortlessly shielding me from the spray with his side. "Did it splash you?" I had taken shelter in his arms, enveloped in his fresh, clean scent, and whispered a quiet thank you to him. Xiaoyu simply smiled, then picked up the student ID card I had dropped in my panic. He read it out slowly, word by word. "Wan Qingzhou." His lips moved as he spoke, and his voice was impossibly, devastatingly pleasant. Clutching my school bag to my chest, my heart hammered like thunder. "It's fine, shall we walk together?" He wiped the card clean, handed it to me, and we shared an umbrella on the way back. My face flushed as I nodded, walking at a leisurely pace beside Xiaoyu. The warm, yellow glow from the street lamps occasionally fell upon his shoulders, the tips of his hair, and his profile. Countless circles of light converged into his tall, slender silhouette, and in the end, every last one was seared into my heart. Perhaps affection always arrives with such fierce and sudden intensity, leaving you no time to dodge and no power to resist, and just like that, I plunged headfirst into a secret crush, embarking on an endless stream of longing for Xiaoyu. It never even crossed my mind that he might have just been acting out of kindness back then. I was too greedy, foolishly dreaming of walking every remaining step of my life's journey with Xiaoyu by my side. As the year drew to a close, I finished up my work and took advantage of a lull to find a new apartment. I set a date and moved in right away. All the while, my younger brother kept calling to complain, because I had blocked all of Xiaoyu's contact info and was traveling for work every other week. He couldn't even find me at the office, so he went and cornered Xiaoyu, trying every trick in the book to grill him for my whereabouts. To this, I told my brother he had to hold firm. Once Xiaoyu's patience ran out, he'd naturally stop bothering him. "Seriously, sis, are you really not giving him any chance at all?" I have to say, Xiaoyu looked genuinely pitiful this time. He's lost so much weight and was a complete mess when he showed up. It was so rare for my brother to say anything nice about Xiaoyu that I couldn't resist teasing him. "Is it really that bad? Even you feel sorry for him?" "Ugh, don't be ridiculous. It's not him I feel sorry for, it's you." "Sure, Xiaoyu was a jerk before, but think about it, sis. After all the hardship and heartache you've endured for him over these 8 years, are you really willing to just walk away empty-handed?" My brother went on and on, listing every struggle I'd faced over the years. I knew he wasn't pleading Xiaoyu's case. He just couldn't bear to see me end up with nothing to show for it all. In his eyes, giving up now would be a complete betrayal of the 8 years I've poured my heart and soul into this. Even my younger brother thought it was just a fit of anger, that I'd surely regret it later. Maybe Xiaoyu really is changing. After all these years by his side, he's slowly starting to care for me. If I could just endure this one last time, I'd finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like a game that's loaded to 99%. Just a little more patience for that final 0.1% and it would be perfect. It's not that I don't understand that, it's just that I'm utterly exhausted. with not a shred of strength left to push forward even an inch. There's nothing to hold on to. Xiaoyu and I, we don't have a future. Seeing my resolve, my brother stopped trying to persuade me. He just said that if I ever felt too bad, I must go to him and not carry the burden alone. I agreed with a laugh and hung up, but a wave of melancholy washed over me. My brother's words kept echoing in my mind. Are you really willing to just give up like this, honestly? I can't even be sure if I could truly forget Xiaoyu overnight. After all, from a very, very long time ago, every joy and sorrow, every sweet and bitter moment of my life has been inextricably linked to this person. But I don't know when it started. The more time passed by his side, the more suffocating it felt. He became like a fishbone stuck in my throat, painful to pull out, painful to swallow down. I took a deep breath and covered my stinging eyes with my hands. As if that alone could push back all the tears, the pain, and the regrets. I can't cry. I mustn't cry. I did everything I could for this relationship, didn't I? There's nothing to be sad about. So why does my heart still ache when my brother mentions Xiaoyu? Ding-a-ling, my phone screen suddenly lit up, warning me the battery was below 10%. Snapping back to reality, I got up to look for the charger. Just then, my phone wallpaper automatically switched to the next image. On the screen, a young man in a white shirt was tilting his head to speak to the person beside him. His eyes and brows were clear and pure, and even the gentle curve of his smiling lips radiated warmth. This was the first photo of Xiaoyu I had secretly saved, sourced from the school forum. It was wildly popular among the younger female students at the time, and the person standing next to him was Jiang Ran. Long-buried memories came flooding back in an instant. I finally couldn't hold back any longer and burst into loud sobs. My tears could only fall onto the cold edge of the screen, forever unable to reach that person's heart. I've asked myself again and again, if I could go back to that time, would I still fall for Xiaoyu? I probably would, because the Xiaoyu from our university days, in my heart, outshone everything. It wasn't just me who liked him, everyone did. But while moonlight is everywhere, there is only one moon. And I was just one of the countless, insignificant stars gazing up at it from afar. That night, I had a long, long dream. In it, I returned to that summer when I was 19. I returned to the long corridor of B University, where Xiaoyu and I once walked side by side, now draped in wisteria. My grand yet silent crush was hidden within the leaves too thick for sunlight to penetrate, concealed amidst the clamor of the cicada's song. But I'm the biggest fool who can't hide my feelings. I thought getting close to Xiaoyu as a friend was clever, even stupidly helping him pursue Jiang Ran, all under the noble pretense of repaying his favor of shielding me from the water. Yet my intentions were as plain as day for all to see. Even though my heart was breaking, I consoled myself, saying it was okay. The person I like finding happiness, that's the greatest thing in the world. Yet, despite all my efforts to set them up and cheer him on, every single one of Xiaoyu's heartfelt confessions ended in rejection. I couldn't understand why Jiang Ran kept turning him down. All I knew was that while my heart ached for Xiaoyu, I also secretly harbored a shameful little thrill. On the day of our graduation internship, he confessed to Jiang Ran for the last time. As expected, he was rejected again. That night, he got utterly wasted at the bar, and watching him, my heart shattered into a million pieces. He drank one glass after another, while all the words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat, unable to come out. At best, I was just a good friend. All I could do was stay quietly by his side to make sure he didn't drink too much and get into trouble. Beyond that, I was powerless. I had assumed that at that moment, Xiaoyu's mind was completely filled with thoughts of Jiang Ran. I never expected that the first name he would call out while drunk would be mine. He said, "Wan Qingzhou. You're the biggest fool who can never hide your feelings. I'm sorry. Forgive me for always pretending not to see how wonderful you are. If it weren't for Jiang Ran, I would have fallen for you. Qingzhou, I know everything. I always have." The bar was overwhelmingly loud, a chaotic blend of boisterous crowds and flickering lights. I shouldn't have been able to hear a thing, but in that instant, my world narrowed until the only sound I could hear was Xiaoyu's voice. He leaned his head on my shoulder, wrapping his arms around me to pull me close. He seemed drunk, yet somehow completely sober. I tried to steady my racing heart and gather my scattered thoughts. Xiaoyu was just out of control, drunk, and hurt from being rejected too many times. It didn't mean anything. I should have pushed him away and gone home, but I didn't. I couldn't. At 19, Wan Qingzhou could never refuse Xiaoyu anything. That included choosing to do my internship in the city where he was, without a second thought. No matter how far, if Xiaoyu needs me, I'll be right there by his side. We don't work at the same company, so every time I go to see him, the subway ride leaves me aching all over. but I don't mind the effort. On a nice day, even the breeze on the way feels sweet. At first, I was worried Xiaoyu would be crushed by Jiangran going abroad, so I was always trying to find ways to cheer him up. I said to him half-jokingly, "Hey, you're already interning, and I still see people looking for you on your school's confession wall. Someone's even offering a reward. Are you really not considering it? Could be a total knockout, you know." I tried to keep my voice light and breezy, burying every last bit of reluctance deep in my heart. Xiaoyu tilted his head and stared at me for a moment, then propped his chin on his hand and flicked my forehead. "What's this?" Planning to sell my contact info for some dirty money, I laughed and swatted his hand away. "In that case, I'd be able to afford a house for sure." Xiaoyu's eyes curved into a crescent moon as he leaned close to my ear, his voice lifting playfully. "Well then, I'll just have to tell everyone I have a girlfriend." My heart was pounding wildly, my face flushed a deep, vivid red. "Calm down, Wan Qingzhou, he didn't say it was you." They say online that the ambiguous phase is when you're most likely to get carried away. I wonder if that's what's happening with Xiaoyu and me, but that feeling, the way his eyes held only me every time he looked over, was truly wonderful. One weekend, bored out of my mind on my day off, I was binge-watching shows in my dorm. Just as it was getting dark, I got a call from Xiaoyu. "What are you up to?" "Just watching shows in my dorm." "Why? What's up?" "Oh, well. Can you come outside and take a look?" Xiaoyu's tone was light and cheerful, his laughter ringing clear. Clutching my phone with a puzzled look, I walked towards the balcony. The moment my gaze dropped, my blood felt like it was boiling. Xiaoyu was standing downstairs holding a bouquet of roses. Just then, all the street lamps flickered on. From the second floor, I could even see the glimmer of starlight reflected in his eyes. "Wan Qingzhou, let's be together." I froze in place, stunned for a full 30 seconds. Then, ignoring my roommate's confusion, I let out a shriek and dashed downstairs in my slippers. "Xiaoyu said he wants to be with me. He said he wants to be with me." To me, nothing in the world is more moving than those 3 words. I finally got my wish and became Xiaoyu's girlfriend. I was over the moon and couldn't wait to share the news with my brother, only to have him tear into me and give me a piece of his mind. "Wan Qingzhou, have you lost your mind? Anyone with eyes can see that Xiaoyu is only using you as a rebound because he's bitter about Jiangran leaving the country. He doesn't love you at all. For God's sake, get a grip. You of all people should know how hard he chased after Jiangran back then. Are you just asking for heartbreak?" My brother's words left me speechless, flustered and red in the face. I wanted to defend Xiaoyu. It wasn't like that. His feelings for me were genuine. And besides, Jiangran had been gone for ages. I believe that if I'm willing to give, his heart will one day lean completely towards me. Those years were arguably the happiest time of my entire life. Xiaoyu didn't treat me as a mere pastime, as my younger brother had claimed. He remembered my likes and dislikes. He remembered our anniversaries, but he could never remember my birthday. He said that for every anniversary to come, he would be by my side. He was gentle and attentive, showering me with care. Back then, Xiaoyu would always come to my office to have lunch with me. Female colleagues would often glance our way, then whisper to each other, and Xiaoyu never once let go of my hand. At the time, I was so intoxicated by the hard-won happiness that I forgot the condition for Xiaoyu's love, the absence of Jiangran. It wasn't until much, much later that I understood, when it comes to matters of the heart, effort alone is never enough. You can't force yourself to like something you just don't. The next day, I dragged myself out of bed with puffy eyes. Catching my own haggard reflection in the mirror gave me a real shock. Late-night melancholy never leads anywhere good. A quick wash made me look a bit more human. With this rare bit of free time, I decided to just hunker down at home for a couple of days. Just as I settled back in, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. I was about to put it down and finally fire up my laptop to binge-watch my show. "Qingzhou, I'm downstairs. There are some things I need to say to you in person." It was Xiaoyu. He was still so sure I'd come down. My first instinct was to ignore him, but then it occurred to me that maybe our breakup had been a bit too hasty. It's not like we ended on terrible terms. Just because we broke up doesn't mean we have to become complete strangers. On second thought, there's really no need for me to avoid him. Besides, I don't think Xiaoyu's stubbornness is about winning me back. He was unmoved even when I loved him so deeply, let alone now. But on such a cold day, would he really wait down there? After a moment's thought, I threw on a coat and headed downstairs with some trepidation. Not long after stepping out of the elevator, I spotted Xiaoyu on a bench in the complex, sitting with his head bowed, his expression unreadable. I didn't call out to him. Just walked over slowly and stopped right in front of him. "Qingzhou." Xiaoyu's bowed head snapped up instantly. Before I could utter a word, he stood and pulled me into an embrace, his apology spilling out in a frantic rush. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Qingzhou. No matter what, it was my fault. Please don't leave me. Don't do this, Wan Qingzhou. Please don't do this to me. I was wrong. I was really wrong, leaning against Xiaoyu, listening to his flustered and helpless apologies. I felt a wave of powerlessness. What on earth was he trying to do? Let's talk upstairs. It's cold down here. I subtly pushed him away, turned, and started walking back. Seeing this, Xiaoyu didn't say anything more and just followed silently behind me. Come in. I opened the door and glanced over, finally noticing why Tangli had described him as a mess. He must have been in a hurry on the way here. His collar and cuffs were wrinkled. His hair was tousled by the wind. And there were dark circles under his eyes. But Xiaoyu was always so meticulous about his appearance. Was he just not used to it? It seems he really hasn't been doing well these past few days. Xiaoyu looked around the room with a dejected expression, and after a long while, he murmured, I thought you were just upset with me. I didn't realize you truly weren't planning to come back. I didn't say anything, out of politeness. I picked up a cup and went to get some hot water. Qingzhou. I've fallen for you. Xiaoyu's voice suddenly cut through the silence, steady and firm. My hand jerked violently, and the cup clattered to the floor. A dull thud erupted at my feet as shards of glass and hot water sprayed everywhere. Belatedly, I crouched down to pick up the scattered glass. That's when Xiaoyu came over, took my hand, and looked at me with utter sincerity in his eyes. I mean it, Qingzhou, let's get back together. For 6 years. I had imagined a moment like this countless times. I just never thought it would happen after we had already broken up. I won't see Jiangran again. I won't let her use the guise of friendship to hurt you anymore. I was a fool, 8 years, and I still couldn't see who I truly loved. Qingzhou, I'll do anything you ask. Just come back to me. Haven't you always wanted to try my cooking? Let me cook for you. Please, what do you like about me? You like the glass of water I always keep by the bed for you at night. You like the stomach medicine I carry in my bag. You like the sticky notes covering my walls. You like how I take care of every little thing for you. What else do you like? That I shamelessly stepped in as Jiangran's replacement after she left. Qingzhou, please don't say that. I've genuinely fallen for you. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and then said slowly, that won't be necessary. What? Xiaoyu seemed not to have processed it yet. I said, it's not necessary. I can manage cooking on my own. I withdrew my hand and repeated calmly, on the one and only birthday Xiaoyu spent with me, we had agreed to cook a meal together as my gift from him. I had even studied tutorials online well in advance. I had all the ingredients ready, but just as we were about to start, Xiaoyu got a call that Jiangran had been hospitalized with appendicitis. He rushed out, hailing a cab to the hospital and leaving me behind. No matter how I tried to stop him, it was useless. I could clearly hear many voices on Jiangran's end of the line. But here at home, I was all alone. On my birthday, in the struggle, Xiaoyu shoved me. My head hit the floor with a heavy, sickening thud. When I finally came to my senses, the door was already wide open. A howling, icy wind rushed in, cutting through my thin clothes. A large lump had formed on the back of my head. I gingerly touched it with my fingertips, and the sharp pain made me suck in a sharp breath. Why does it have to be you? She's already at the hospital. Why do you have to abandon me like this? Xiaoyu. Can't you please not do this to me? Can't you choose me? Just once. You promised we'd cook together. You promised me. On the verge of a breakdown, I kept calling and texting Xiaoyu, but all I got in return was the curt, automated message. The number you have dialed is powered off. I sat alone on the cold floor, staring blankly at the tulips on the balcony. The doorbell rang. I thought it was Xiaoyu coming home, but when I opened the door, it was a Meituan delivery driver. In his hand was the order of crabs I had just requested. After taking it, I slid down to sit with my back against the door. Tears welled up uncontrollably, streaming into my mouth. On the night of my birthday, I was left alone to swallow the bitterness. It was just too painful. I never knew that liking someone could be this hard. From that moment on, I started to reevaluate my relationship with Xiaoyu. I began to question whether my constant, one-sided devotion was truly worth it, and slowly, I started building up the walls around my heart. It felt like an eternity had passed. The atmosphere had sunk to rock bottom. Xiaoyu's face turned ashen, like a deflated balloon. After a long pause, he finally managed to utter in a low voice, I'm sorry. He sighed, then fixed his eyes on mine and said, word by deliberate word, so, Wan Qingzhou, you don't like me anymore, do you? You're not the same Wan Qingzhou who swore she'd like me even if the sky fell. Everything you said was a lie, wasn't it? I paused, suddenly remembering how I had once confidently declared to Xiaoyu, I will always love you, even if the sky falls. I will still love you, but the truth is, I overestimated myself. Love can run dry, no matter how passionate it is. The ending is always the same. I smiled and said, you're right, Xiaoyu. I did overestimate myself. I always thought that in matters of the heart, effort was enough. I thought if I just gave enough, you would finally see me. But the problem between us wasn't just Jiangran. I forgot that love should be equal and mutual. I kept piling all the weight on my side of the scale, constantly tolerating and conceding, until the balance between us was completely destroyed. Your heart had already wandered off, whether you actually did anything to betray me or not. From the day Jiangran returned, you were never really mine again. I'm sorry. I was too naive to see the situation for what it was, stubbornly trying to keep you by my side in the name of love. No, that's not what happened, Qingzhou. Xiaoyu protested urgently. Jiangran and I didn't. I know, I cut him off coldly. I knew they hadn't. Just as Jiangran had told me, she and Xiaoyu grew up together, childhood friends with an innocent bond. Whether or not that particular connection exists, her place as Xiaoyu's white moonlight, the one who got away, can never be replaced by anyone. Isn't that exactly what makes someone a white moonlight? The very fact that you can't have them. And now she's returned to the country alone, and just so happens to be in the same city as Xiaoyu. Is it really so unreasonable for her to receive a little care from him? It's not like anything major actually happened. It was just the occasional movie, some shopping, a meal or two, just old friends catching up, holding each other while they slept and reminiscing about the past. What do I have to be so upset about? What right do I have to feel wronged? Xiaoyu is still my boyfriend. Day after day, I've been numbing myself like this, thinking that by clinging to the hollow pretense of being his girlfriend, I could just coast along with Xiaoyu without any real pain. Little did I know, our relationship had long since rotted and soured, and I was on the verge of losing even myself. Xiaoyu has always put me second. I'm never his first choice. A love like that, whether it exists or not, is utterly meaningless. See that tulip on the balcony? I haven't watered it in a long time. To put it simply, I don't care how many more sunrises it sees with me. I looked at Xiaoyu, let out a long, slow breath, and said with grave finality, we've expired, Xiaoyu, just go. There was no hysterics, no sobbing breakdown, not even the dramatic scene of cursing a scumbag and slapping him across the face. I said it with a calmness that suggested it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Xiaoyu's brow furrowed deeply. He opened his mouth as if to speak. In the end, he said nothing. He just stared at me in stunned silence, as if looking at a complete stranger. For a long, long while, he stood up, walked to the door, and placed his hand on the knob, but didn't turn it. I'm so sorry for the hurt I've caused you in this relationship. I know nothing I say now can change things, but I won't give up, no matter what. I will win back the Ruan Qingzhou who would love Xiaoyu even if the sky were falling. Seeing I had no response, Xiaoyu paused, then continued, Qingzhou, I truly love you, and I truly want to build a future with you. Please believe me. His voice was soft, even carrying a faint tremor, yet it was clear enough for me to hear every word. Only when the door clicked softly shut did I feel a weight lift from my shoulders, and my tense body finally began to relax. I don't know why, but this suffocating feeling that's been lingering in my chest just won't go away. It's awful. I rushed to the balcony, flung the window open, and took a couple of deep, desperate breaths. The biting cold wind seeped from my nostrils right into my bones, so sharp it sent me into a sudden fit of coughing. Honestly, I could sense the sorrow and disappointment between Xiaoyu's lines. For someone as proud as him to come crawling back to me, pleading, that's probably too much for him to handle. But none of that matters to me anymore. I don't care who he loves from now on. It's okay, it's in the past. Look ahead, Ruan Qingzhou, don't look back. I went back to my usual post at the company and resumed my 9-to-5 grind. And as for what Xiaoyu said about never giving up, it meant he was waiting for me downstairs at my office every single day, rain or shine. Even though I wouldn't say a word to him, it never shook his determination to drive me to and from work. He kept sending flowers and gifts every other day, never repeating the same thing. My desk nearly attracted bees. I tried my best to avoid it all, but there was nothing I could do. The guy who never set foot in a kitchen actually made a lunchbox with his own hands and eagerly brought it to my company. I took pity and offered my food to a few stray dogs near the office, but they wouldn't eat it. When my younger brother found out, his endless laughter echoed in my ears for a whole week. I really had no way of dealing with this guy, so I just let him have his way. That day, I deliberately worked late, thinking Xiaoyu would give up waiting for me. To my surprise, he was still standing down there like a statue, even though spring was just around the corner. The night air still held a bitter chill. Seeing Xiaoyu's nose, red from the cold, I spoke up for the first time ever. Let's go. Xiaoyu's eyes instantly lit up. He nodded, a smile touching the corner of his lips as he fell into step beside me. It was late, and the streets were nearly empty, with only a few dim yellow street lamps casting their glow. For some reason, my eyes suddenly stung. I turned my head to look at Xiaoyu. The warm, yellow light grazed his profile, his shoulder, and the tips of his hair. One by one, in that 1 second when my vision blurred, I saw Xiaoyu's figure overlap with the one from all those years ago. Time had changed everything. He was no longer the deity branded upon my heart. Xiaoyu, I called out softly to stop him. Let's stop here. This part of the journey is over. There's a fork in the road ahead, and I think I can walk the rest of the way on my own. I didn't look at the expression on Xiaoyu's face, nor did I care whether he was following me or not, because I won't look back anymore. Never again. Side story, Xiaoyu, Wan Qingzhou was gone. When I got back, I found most of her things had been taken from the house, her favorite clothes, her makeup, her beloved stuffed toys, all of it had vanished. Only a scattering of odds and ends remains to remind me that she was once a part of this home. I stood in the house, now half empty, for a long time, stunned. I knew she must be furious that I went to Jiang Ran's place at the very last moment on the day we were supposed to discuss our marriage. But Jiang Ran is my sister. She was in a bad place, and she's always had an extreme, volatile personality since childhood. Prone to getting into trouble, I couldn't just leave her alone. I never imagined something like that would happen, but I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that Qingzhou, upon finding out, would react like this, just packing up and leaving without a word. It was quiet and still, as if nothing had ever happened. I snapped back to reality and picked up my phone to check again. There was nothing, no message at all. Even so, a sliver of hope still lingered in my heart. Maybe the company just sent her on a business trip, and it's to a far-off place. That would explain why she had to pack so much. The reason I haven't heard from her is that she's upset with me. To confirm my suspicions, I went to her office first thing the next morning. Sure enough, her colleague told me that Qingzhou had been sent on a business trip out of town. A wave of relief washed over me. Well, she's the one who asked the boss to go. It's quite a trip, you know. She'll probably be gone for a week or two. You didn't know. My female colleague gave me a strange look as she said it. I froze, suddenly at a loss for words. Here I was, her boyfriend, having to come to her office to find out about something as simple as a business trip. That does sound rather ridiculous. I mumbled a few words in reply and hurried home as fast as I could. At least now I know where Qingzhou has gone, which puts my mind a little more at ease. She'll come back. I just need to wait for her at home. That idea was completely shattered after I came home to an empty house for 10 days straight. The phone still went straight to voicemail, and the WeChat interface was frozen on the same day. I scoured every social media app, trying to find any trace she might have left behind. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I tossed my phone aside in frustration, and at the same time, a nameless sense of panic washed over me. It started as just a trickle, but grew with time. This suffocating panic spread throughout my entire body. 6 years. This was the first time Wan Qingzhou had been away from me for so long. She actually went through with it. She's never ignored me for this long before. A vague, indescribable loneliness and unease twisted together, making it impossible to breathe in this oppressively quiet house. Ever since the sticky notes in the house went missing, I'd been forgetting to bring my work files to the office. Forgetting to leave a glass of water by my bedside at night, and when my stomach aches, I can't find any medicine no matter how hard I search. Longing grew like a rampant vine, spreading until it reached every single cell in my body. Wan Qingzhou is all I see when I open my eyes, and all I think of when I close them. Where is she? Why hasn't she come back? Is she still upset? Even a business trip should be over by now. She might have gone to Wan Qingfan's place. Or maybe she's staying at the office. In short, she won't forgive me. That's why she won't come back, won't talk to me, and won't see me. In that moment, it suddenly dawned on me that the one who couldn't bear to be apart was me. The truth is, I can't stand the thought of Wan Qingzhou one day leaving my side. Why did I never realize before how unbearable life would be without Wan Qingzhou? Loss. I kept turning those two words over in my mind, again and again, until I was plunged into a fear unlike anything I'd ever known. Melancholy, oppression, unease, a tangle of complex emotions converged in that instant, pushing my longing for Wan Qingzhou to its absolute peak. I truly miss her so much. I think I've fallen for her. I can't live without her. I typed out a long apology on my phone, but hesitated before sending it. She can probably see the typing indicator, right? I miss her. She used to check our chat window countless times. She must see it. An apology is probably better said in person, yet I stubbornly waited for her at home, refusing to believe she would just leave me like that. Wan Qingzhou pushed the door open. When she looked at me, there was no emotion in her eyes. From the moment she heard my apology to when she accepted the gift, not a single trace of expression crossed her face. All the words I had welled up inside me suddenly caught in my throat. And I couldn't utter a single one. What I wanted to say was, "I'm sorry, Qingzhou. I didn't mean to stand you up that day. There really was a reason. At the very least, could you give me a chance to explain, instead of just letting me watch helplessly as you drifted further and further away?" What I wanted to say was, "I've missed you every single day since you've been gone," but it seemed she no longer needed, or even cared for, my explanation. I thought perhaps my apology hadn't been sincere enough. So before dawn the next day, I went out to buy the dishes she usually liked. But when I opened the door and saw Wan Qingzhou with luggage scattered all over the floor, my blood ran cold. She said she wanted to break up with me. The reason I came back was to leave this home, and me, for good. Everything changed so suddenly. Before I could even process it, Wan Qingzhou picked up her luggage and walked out without a backward glance. I was left standing there, frozen. It took me a long time to accept the reality that this house, once filled with her presence, was now completely and utterly mine alone. That's impossible. That's Wan Qingzhou. That's the Wan Qingzhou who loves me more than anyone else ever could. The sun will rise in the west, the oceans will flow backwards, and iron trees will bloom. Wan Qingzhou would never stop loving me. I don't believe it, but the reality is, she blocked all my contact information and has been deliberately avoiding me. I even went to her company, but I still couldn't see her, with no other leads. I could only follow Wan Qingfan. I finally found out where Qingzhou was, but as I got closer to her, with each step, my anxiety only grew. What if we made up? Would she start to like me again? Would she treat me the way she used to, and see me as the most important person in her life? The thought blossomed in my mind, taking root and growing. Yeah, I want to make up with Wan Qingzhou, marry her, spend my whole life with her, and build a future together. As long as there's even the slightest chance for us, then wherever Wan Qingzhou goes, Xiaoyu will follow. 1 hour later, standing outside her building, a smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. In this moment, I finally faced my own heart with honesty and resolve. The person I want by my side has always been Wan Qingzhou. That has never changed. But after what I did, does she still want me? Will she really accept me? I sat on the bench in the courtyard, a thin film of sweat coating my palms. I never imagined this day would come. I'm terrified that Wan Qingzhou will reject me. Terrified to see that look in her eyes, the one that says she's already given up caring. So, I didn't even have the courage to go up and knock on her door. I just stood there waiting in the bitter cold. Pathetically, I clung to the faint hope that she might feel a pang of pity if she saw me, but she didn't, because soon enough, I saw Wan Qingzhou. There was only a flicker of surprise in her eyes, followed by nothing but detached indifference. Even as I held her, I sensed a faint, almost imperceptible resistance. My heart sank like a stone, aching with a raw, grating pain. All the carefully rehearsed words vanished. Seizing the moment while she went to pour water, I blurted it out like a clumsy fool. "I've fallen for you." Startled by the sudden remark, Wan Qingzhou's cup slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. I cautiously gauged her reaction, clumsily and stiffly voicing my promises, hoping to catch even a glimmer of joy in her eyes. But from start to finish, she showed not a single trace of softening. Then, word by deliberate word, she told me how she had endured each time I abandoned her for Jiang Ran, how she was tired of that life, and tired of me. Unlike Tang Li's gritted teeth intensity, she spoke each word with a quiet calm, her tone as ordinary as if we were discussing the weather. Even when she said she was giving up on me, I froze right there on the spot. In that moment, it suddenly hit me, whether it was "I love you" or "I'm sorry," none of it mattered to Wan Qingzhou anymore, because she didn't love me anymore. I don't remember how I got home. When I pushed the door open, I didn't even dare to turn on the light. And I left not a single crack in the curtains. It seems only in the boundless darkness that I could catch the slightest chance to breathe. This home, once so full of her presence, suddenly felt hollow and empty. The emptiness is unbearable. She doesn't love me anymore. Wan Qingzhou has given up on me. When she said she was letting me go, it was as casual as discarding an unwanted piece of clothing. In her eyes, I saw not just coldness and distance, but a calmness that filled me with utter despair. It was as if I was no different from the strangers she passed on the subway during her commute, just as insignificant, just as disposable. as if I suddenly had the time and space. I began to reflect on what I, as her boyfriend, had done in this relationship. Everything was fine at first. From my confession to Ruan Qingzhou to us getting together, it all felt natural and right. I genuinely like her. And I truly wish she could always stay by my side. The one thing I never expected was for Jiang Ran to come back. The day I got her call, my mind went completely blank. Some trouble arose in Jiang Ran's family, leading to a major conflict with her parents. In a fit of anger, she decided to return to the country on her own. Given the relationship between our families, my parents found out and specifically asked me to look after Jiang Ran in my daily life. She's all alone in this city and probably doesn't know anyone else besides me. Besides, no matter how you look at it, we grew up together. Out of both sentiment and principle, I couldn't just abandon her. I just didn't realize back then how much damage that decision would inflict upon Ruan Qingzhou. I thought that as long as I was by her side, and as long as I didn't cross any lines with Jiang Ran, she wouldn't be hurt. I prided myself on maintaining clear boundaries, but in reality, they had long since blurred. Every single time I chose Jiang Ran over Ruan Qingzhou. Perhaps in the corners I couldn't see, she was constantly enduring, constantly giving me chances, until all hope was gone. I finally understand that she wanted me to consider her feelings, to see her efforts in this relationship, and to comprehend the grievances she had suffered all along. The day we discussed marriage was the last chance she left for us. It's a pity I was too arrogant. I took it for granted that she couldn't leave me, always believing she would forgive me no matter what. And thus I recklessly squandered her love. No wonder Ruan Qingzhou gave up on me. Serves me right, goddamn serves me right. I was so lost in the agony of losing Ruan Qingzhou, I couldn't even tell what day it was. That was, until Jiang Ran knocked on my door. I was stunned for a long moment before I remembered that Jiang Ran had called me many times over the past few days and sent a ton of messages on WeChat, all of which I'd ignored. When she came in and saw the mess all over the floor and my disheveled state, Jiang Ran's expression was one of utter disbelief. Xiao Yu, what are you doing? Ruan Qingzhou broke up with me, I said softly, and Jiang Ran snorted coldly, kicking away a liquor bottle by her foot. So, you're planning to cut me out of your life for good, is that it? You weren't this devastated when I left. I closed my eyes, utterly exhausted. Is there anything else? If not, you can leave, Xiao Yu. Are you blaming me for this? I shook my head and said, it's not your fault, it's mine. I grew accustomed to you depending on me since we were young, to always giving in to you in every little thing. Even though you didn't like me, I still saw you as someone incredibly important, so important that I repeatedly neglected Ruan Qingzhou, who was always by my side, for your sake, because I promised to take good care of you. Every time you clashed with her, I chose you, but Jiang Ran. I realize now that I've been wrong all along. This so-called taking care of you should never have been a reason to hurt Ruan Qingzhou. I was too preoccupied with your feelings, indulging your every unreasonable demand without any boundaries, and that's what led to this situation. What I felt for you was probably more the resentment of being rejected when we were young, or maybe just my male pride acting up. In the end, there was no love between us. The one I've always loved is Ruan Qingzhou. From now on, I won't involve myself in your affairs anymore. Whether you choose to stay here or go back abroad, it has nothing to do with me. I let out a long sigh, surprised I was still coherent enough to say so much. Jiang Ran froze in place, her face instantly turning deathly pale. After a long moment, she finally asked me with red-rimmed eyes. What do you mean? We've known each other for almost 20 years, and now you want to cut me off completely because of some Ruan Qingzhou. Is that it? You've spoiled me since I was a child, and now you say you won't care for me anymore. Have you forgotten that day? Choking back sobs, Jiang Ran stumbled backward, then grabbed a nearby cushion and hurled it at me in a fit of rage. I didn't move away, nor did I reply. The sound of intermittent sobbing reached my ears. I don't know how much time passed before Jiang Ran wiped her tears and resumed her previous haughty demeanor, a mocking smile playing on her lips. Stop pretending to be the heartbroken lover. Xiao Yu, what right do you have to treat me like this? Yes, I went too far. Yes, I hurt Ruan Qingzhou. But so what? Didn't you enable all of it? Now you say you regret it. Where was this regret earlier? With that, Jiang Ran turned on her heel and walked out without a backward glance. The door slammed shut with a deafening crash that made my head throb. I put the house back in order, finally putting an end to that awful, chaotic existence. I've left the empty spaces in the house untouched, because they all belong to Ruan Qingzhou, even though she's already given up on me. Story 2. I spent 5 years living in a basement with Fu Chuan during the poorest stretch of his youth. I fell ill and passed away just as he made his first 30 million. On the very day he became the richest man in North City, I was reborn. Hello everyone, and welcome to Whispering Glimmer. After being a stubborn holdout in the river of forgetfulness for 2 years, the king of hell, tired of my pestering, offered me a chance to settle my final wish. He permitted me to return to the world of the living. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself standing in a bustling subway station. Huge billboards and digital screens throughout the station were plastered with advertisements for the Fu Corporation. I reached out, tracing the familiar face on the screen, tears streaming uncontrollably down my cheeks. A group of schoolgirls were holding up their phones, snapping pictures from every angle. One long-haired girl, looking utterly smitten, gushed, "Fu Chuan looks absolutely stunning in this ad. He totally outshines all those young idols and celebrities. No wonder his company always has their CEO star in the commercials. With looks like that, it'd be a waste not to. Incredibly smart, highly educated, drop-dead gorgeous, and no scandals to his name. He's literally my dream husband. Can you believe it? This absolute unicorn of a man is only 25. Oh my god." The short-haired girl taking the photo pouted. "What a shame he's already married, and so young too." The long-haired girl said dismissively, "You mean his late wife? She's been gone for ages, so what? He can't be expected to stay a widower for the rest of his life at his age." "You're absolutely right." I couldn't help but agree. The girl was startled by me, rolling her eyes in annoyance. "And who are you?" I wiped my face with my hand and muttered, "Me. I'm Fu Chuan's wife." The girls doubled over with laughter, mocking me. Fu Chuan's good looks have driven another one crazy. "Hey lady, why don't you take a good look at yourself in the mirror?" Then they treated me like a lunatic, laughing and chatting as they walked away. It was only after their comment that I snapped out of my daze. I hurried to the bathroom to check my reflection. One look in the mirror, and my heart sank. A face so ordinary it would vanish in a crowd, utterly unremarkable. I feel a bit down. At least in my past life, I had a pretty face. So, back when I first moved into Fu Chuan's place, he had just broken his leg and was in a foul mood. He would snarl and chase away anyone who came to see him. Back then, banking on my good looks, I just barged into his life, dragging my little suitcase behind me. A few days ago, he wouldn't even let me through the door. I spent a few days sleeping by the door, curled up in my sleeping bag. On the third night, the temperature plummeted, and I sneezed over a dozen times out there. The door suddenly swung open. Since I was leaning against it, I fell backward, nearly taking a nasty spill. But a pair of arms caught me, steady and sure. But then, with a look of distaste, he pushed me away and wheeled his chair back into the house. Judging by his conflicted expression, I knew his heart had softened. Back then, Fu Chuan couldn't stand it when I acted spoiled. In my junior year, I went to see a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. To save money and help his leg heal faster, I taught myself acupuncture, practicing on my own leg until there wasn't a patch of skin left untouched. He found out about it later. His eyes instantly welled up with tears. But he was also furious. I just had to hug his arm and act a little spoiled, and all his anger melted away. Then, with a handsome but icy expression, he came over and pinched my cheek, his tone still fiercely threatening. "Try stabbing yourself again and see what happens." But now, this face in the mirror, I tried making a coquettish, pouty expression, and then, I fell silent. If I showed up at Fu Chuan's door looking like this and told him I was his poor, ill-fated wife who died young, he'd probably be so terrified he'd call the police. But still, I miss him so much. I really want to see him. My phone started vibrating. I answered a call from a woman. "Hello, Xiaohe, what's going on? We had an interview scheduled for this afternoon, didn't we? Why aren't you here yet?" I said in surprise. An interview?" They clicked their tongue in annoyance. "Have you lost your mind? How could you forget something this important? This is a housekeeping position at the home of the CEO of the Fu Corporation. Where else are you going to find a job this good?" "Fu Chuan," I almost cried out. Someone spoke beside the woman, and she reminded me again, "Hurry up, you've only got an hour left. Didn't I already send you the address?" After hanging up, I found the text message with the address. I hurried to the subway and rushed over. The address was in a far-off location. After getting off the subway, I took a bus to the nearest stop. It took another half hour of walking to finally get there. I was drenched in sweat, and just as I was about to arrive, a light rain started, leaving me thoroughly soaked and disheveled. After hesitating for a moment, I finally rang the doorbell. The door opened. A young woman's face appeared from behind the door. She was still in her loungewear. Seeing what she was wearing, I was taken aback. Then, a dull ache began to throb deep in my chest. The woman glanced at me. "Are you the nanny here for the interview today?" I nodded. As she walked inside, she began briefing me. The previous housekeeper for Mr. Fu's family has resigned. The housework isn't too heavy. Mr. Fu rarely eats at home, so your main duty will be to keep the place clean. Oh, and Mr. Fu is a light sleeper, so please remember to keep quiet. There's a locked room on the second floor you must not enter. Be very careful about this. Don't go poking around. The items in there are extremely valuable, and you couldn't afford to replace them if anything got broken. As she led me upstairs for a tour, she looked me over and said, "The housekeeper's room is the one at the very end of the second floor hallway. You look quite young, and I see you're highly educated. What made you want to become a nanny?" I was just about to come up with an excuse to brush her off when she smiled and said, "Though I've seen plenty of girls like you, after all, Mr. Fu is such an exceptional man, but it's best to keep any inappropriate ideas to yourself. Mr. Fu has very high standards." I barely registered what she said next, my gaze fixed unblinkingly on the master bedroom. "Is H1 resting right now?" The woman glanced at her watch, as if prompting me. "Mr. Fu isn't home, he's gone abroad. His flight is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Just have Mr. Fu's change of clothes and breakfast ready for tomorrow morning." I nodded blankly. She went to the guest room, changed into professional attire, and left. Apart from me, there was also a driver and a gardener at the Fu residence. The driver, Oldly, exchanged a few pleasantries with me, and I couldn't help but ask, "Who is that person?" "Oldly, you mean Miss Anna Chen. She's President Fu's secretary. She handles everything for him, both at the company and in his personal life. Seems like President Fu is quite fond of Miss Chen." A bitter taste quickly spread. I've always understood that out of sight means out of mind. I never expected Fu Chuan to stay single for my sake until the end of his days, but when I learned he had a new girlfriend, it still hurt. When Oldly took me for a stroll in the garden, a massive, dark shadow suddenly darted out from the side, knocking me to the ground, and then began frantically licking my face. I finally saw what was in my arms. Dodo. Back when I first found Dodo, it was just a tiny puppy, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Fu Chuan didn't like cats or dogs. When I secretly tucked Dodo inside my coat to bring him home, Fu Chuan caught me red-handed. His foot had improved a bit by then, and he had started walking with a crutch. When he saw Dodo in my arms, his frown was so deep you could have trapped a mosquito in it. "How about we raise it together?" I kept pestering him, constantly whispering in his ear, "Look how adorable it is. Having a dog is wonderful. Who knows, maybe one day when I'm gone, it'll still be here to keep you company." But he suddenly flew into a rage. "How long do dogs even live? Wen Jixia, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? Do you even understand the concept of avoiding ill-omened words?" I wasn't in a great place mentally during that time either. My parents were pressuring me to break up with Fu Chuan and even set me up on other blind dates. Last week when I went home, Mom pulled me aside and said, "Xia, I know Fu Chuan is a steady guy, but his circumstances are just too difficult. He's an illegitimate child. His family doesn't acknowledge him. His mother passed away early, and now his leg is injured. Are you really planning to take on a charity case? Haven't you heard enough stories about men who turn out to be heartless?" I just told them, Fu Chuan isn't that kind of man. He had a comfortable upbringing, but his family's fortunes later declined. He is absolutely not the kind of man who would be heartless or disloyal. Not everyone is born with a silver spoon in their mouth. There are those who come from humble beginnings but possess great drive. They need time to grow. So when Fu Chuan yelled at me, the tears just started pouring down my face. I grabbed Dodo and ran out of the rental apartment. I ended up crouching pathetically in the little garden downstairs, crying my eyes out. After half an hour, just as I was getting angry that Fu Chuan hadn't come down to look for me, I stood up and started peering furtively toward the building's entrance. A tall shadow fell over me from behind. Fu Chuan's trousers were caked in mud, and his arm was scraped raw. He'd clearly taken a fall. His dark, intense gaze held me captive before he finally reached out, pulled me into an embrace, and ruffled my hair. There. He murmured, "Don't be angry. I spoke too harshly. I was wrong. You can get any pet you want. I don't mind." It turns out, the moment I ran out the door, he came after me. I was fast, and he was on crutches, yet he frantically chased me all the way outside the neighborhood. I even took a tumble outside. From that day on, Dodo officially became part of our family. It's just that, it's been so long since we last saw each other. Dodo has grown into an old dog. Oldly was startled and quickly pulled Dodo aside. "I'm so sorry. Are you alright? I hope we didn't scare you. This dog is usually quite fierce. Whenever a stranger comes to the house, he barks at them. It's strange today. I don't know why he's taken such a liking to you." I stood up from the ground and looked down at Dodo. Dodo gazed up at me with his big, watery eyes, not blinking once, panting heavily with its mouth wide open. Every now and then, it would give a little twitch. I was on the verge of tears and quickly turned my face away. It's probably because I have a dog at home too. I must smell like a pet. Oldley nodded. That's actually a good thing. The previous helpers were all too scared to feed it. They thought it was really fierce. Oldley had to step away for a moment. Seizing the moment when no one was around, I rushed over to Dodo, who was tied up beside the doghouse. I buried my face in his back. Tears and snot streaming down. Dodo was howling too. I'd never heard such a sorrowful cry from a dog before. Just as I was sobbing uncontrollably, gasping for air, a familiar, deep male voice sounded from behind me. Who are you? The man's voice sounded more mature and steady than it had 2 years ago. Upon hearing Fu Chuan's voice, I froze in terror, completely rigid and motionless. My mind was buzzing and completely blank. Dodo obediently rested his chin on my thigh, peeking with just his eyes at Fu Chuan behind me. Turn around. The man's voice was heavy with pressure. I didn't move. I haven't figured out how to face him yet. Dodo, come here. Probably afraid that I, a stranger, might hurt Dodo, Fu Chuan called out to the dog. His voice was noticeably softer than when he had questioned me, but Dodo remained motionless, buried in my embrace. Fu Chuan's patience was likely wearing thin. He said with a hint of impatience, I'll ask you one last time, who are you? And why are you in my house, so fierce? Oldley rushed over to bail me out. Director Fu, this is Yiping, the new domestic help. Only then did I turn around, but I kept my head down the whole time, not daring to look at him. Fu Chuan finally let his guard down. But seeing Dodo being so affectionate with me, he frowned. Oldley chimed in to explain, she has a dog at home too. Dodo probably caught the scent. It's a good thing he's not being aggressive towards her. I gave Dodo's rear a gentle pat. Only then did it lower its head and walk over to Fu Chuan's side, clearly reluctant. Fu Chuan bent down and patted its head. You little ingrate, have you already forgotten your dad? He was so gentle when he spoke to Dodo. Just like how he used to coax me, back when we were broke. We rented a place in a really old, run-down neighborhood, and it was a basement apartment. At night, it got so cold the pipes would freeze. We couldn't even afford the heating bill back then. We'd sleep in our clothes, huddled under the blankets, with Dodo curled up at our feet to keep them warm, and Fu Chuan would tuck my hand against his chest to warm it up. I drifted off to sleep, counting the rhythm of his heartbeat and breathing. Later in the night, the heat made me toss and turn. He still held me tightly in his arms. In my drowsy state, I felt him plant a kiss on the nape of my neck and whisper, Shush ya, I promise, one day I'll give you a wonderful life, a big house, beautiful clothes to wear every day. I believed him, I always did. Just as Fu Chuan was working tirelessly and had struck his first gold, he took my hand and led me to a beautiful, newly built residential complex. He placed the key in my palm, then he pushed the door open. He scooped me up and spun me around the room. Then he kissed me tenderly and whispered, Xia Xia, we have a home now. I buried my face in his chest, tears streaming down my face. He doesn't know. I just came back from the hospital. I got the test results. I have cancer. Ever since I got sick, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to, following the treatment plan, taking my medicine on time, but none of it has made any difference. I guess luck just wasn't on my side. I have less than a month left. I don't want to die. I want to live. How could it all be over? When Chuan and I were just getting started, the day Fu Chuan found my diagnosis report in the cabinet, I saw him freeze for a moment. Then he walked out to the balcony and smoked in silence. After a long while, I saw him leaning against the wall, his face buried in his hands as he wept silently, his whole body shaking with sobs. After composing himself, he returned to my bedside and knelt down. He took my hand and kissed it again and again. The back of my hand was damp. Shushya, he whispered, thinking I was asleep. Don't be afraid, even in death. I'll walk the road to the underworld with you. But I clamped my hand firmly over his mouth. Fu Chuan, I made a solemn vow. If you dare do anything foolish for my sake, I will never forgive you, not even in death. I absolutely, positively, will not wait for you in the next life. I pointed at Dodo lying on the rug by the bed. You still have Dodo. If you die too, Dodo will have no mom or dad. He's getting on in years. What if some bad person sells him off? I forced him to swear a solemn oath too. It was the first time I had ever seen a grown man of his size, kneeling on the ground, weeping with such helplessness and sorrow. I could feel the tears welling up again. I was just about to speak, to say something to the man he is now. Miss Anna Chen arrived. She walked over with a stack of documents and proceeded to brief him on some company matters. Fu Chuan listened quietly, occasionally looking down to play with Daodu. Anna Chen noticed me standing nearby. Mr. Fu has come home early. These schedule changes happen quite often. Don't just stand there. Go and get dinner ready. Be careful. I chimed in without thinking. Light on the oil and salt. No cilantro. And allergic to strawberries and eggs. Right. The words were out of my mouth. A beat of silence hung in the air. Both Chen Anna and Fu Chuan turned to look at me, especially Fu Chuan. His gaze towards me shifted ever so slightly. I quickly tried to cover for myself. Oh, the company contact showed me the information. I've memorized it all. Chen Anna, however, didn't seem to buy it. A cook will be starting in a couple of days. Why would you bother memorizing all that? Fu Chuan's inscrutable gaze made me uneasy. I quickly added, oh, the company's standards are quite strict. Even as a 2-day substitute, I have to memorize all this. Chen Anna seemed to have more to say. Bring me the agenda for tomorrow's company meeting. Fu Chuan, however, seemed unwilling to pursue the topic any further. Chen Anna had no choice but to shift her focus away from me. Alright, I'll go get it from the car, she said. I don't know why. I get the distinct feeling that this Miss Chen harbors a strong animosity towards me. I went to the kitchen to start making dinner. To be honest, I'm not much of a cook. After all these years with Fu Chuan, I still never learned how to cook properly. He's always busy with work and studies, yet he still has to find time to help me in the kitchen when it's time to eat. Once, I saw he was so exhausted he could barely keep his eyes open. I told him to go lie down in the room for a bit, but in the end, the rice still got burnt. Just as I was worrying about it, Fu Chuan woke up, leaning lazily against the doorframe with his arms crossed. He watched me with a smile. Seeing my exasperated look, he walked over, dropped a few cloves of garlic into the rice, and stuck in some scallions. Will that do the trick? A smile played on his lips as he avoided a direct answer, instead tilting his head to capture my lips in a slow, unhurried kiss. Sigh, the rice is a bit burnt again. I did it while no one was looking. I hastily threw in some scallions and garlic. A moment later, sure enough, the rice didn't have a hint of being burnt. I set the table with the food. When Anna Chen saw the dishes on the table, her eyes nearly popped out of her head. Is that it? You're serving Chairman Fu shredded potatoes, stir-fried pork, and mapo tofu? I was stunned. What's wrong with these dishes? They're the best I can make. What's the big idea? What? Now that you're the boss, you're too good for home-cooked food. Don't tell me you're living on lobster and abalone every day. Anna Chen rolled her eyes. So greasy. And so ordinary. Never mind. I'll call the housekeeper and hurry her along. No need. Fu Chuan had already walked over and sat down at the table. Home-cooked food is just fine. When he saw the food on the table and took a bite of the shredded potatoes, he paused for a moment. He was probably startled by the potato strips I'd cut, which were thicker than my fingers. He didn't touch his chopsticks for a long moment. He just kept his eyes downcast, staring fixedly at the plate of shredded potatoes. I was starting to feel embarrassed myself. Mr. Fu, I'm all thumbs in the kitchen. I'm really not much of a cook. Maybe we should have someone redo this. Seeing Fu Chuan remain silent, Chen Anna picked up a pair of chopsticks and tasted it. She paused for a moment. It's not that you're not good at it, you simply don't know how, do you? It's so salty, and you even added chili. How is anyone supposed to eat this? Secretary Chen. Fu Chuan abruptly cut off her complaints. You should clock out for the day. Chen Anna still wanted to say something. Fu Chuan raised his hand and waved, as if shooing her away. Anna Chen pointed at me and stormed off in a huff. Don't be afraid, Fu Chuan said, still not looking at me as he reached his chopsticks out for another dish. It's delicious, just to my taste. My spirits lifted. So, can I keep cooking for you? He didn't look at me. Only then did I dare to look at him properly. He had gotten so thin, his cheeks were slightly sunken against the muscle, giving him a rather sharp, severe look. I remember how healthy and well I used to keep him, ripped with muscle. No, thanks, he said, turning down my offer to cook. Guess it really did taste awful. Cooking is exhausting, he began. Just focus on your own responsibilities and take good care of Daodu. It suddenly reminded me of the past, when I said that after we got married, I would take full charge of his meals. Go and take a cooking class to properly improve your culinary skills. But he said it wasn't necessary. When we're better off, I'll hire a housekeeper to help with the cooking. I'll cook when I have the time. Wen Jixia. I didn't marry you to have you spend your days chained to the kitchen. You have a wonderful life and so much time ahead of you. I'd much rather you get out and see the world, to experience sights you've never seen before. Dodo is whining. He's probably hungry. I went to get him some kibble. As he ate, Dodo kept looking up at me. It's as if he thought I'd disappear if he looked away for a second. After the meal, I spent some time playing frisbee with Dowdo in the garden. That used to be his favorite game. I'd fake a throw, hiding the frisbee behind my back, and only after doing this 3 times would I actually toss it for real. He used to fall for my trick every time. I got smarter after that, but to make me happy, it would play along and pretend to be fooled. This time was no different. When I finally threw it, Dowdo went absolutely wild, bolting off into the distance to catch the frisbee. I'm really glad too. He let out an excited whistle, but then, suddenly, Fu Chuan's voice rang out, suddenly urgent, and his grip tightened on her wrist. Just, who are you? 2 years ago, right after I passed away, Fu Chuan made me a promise. He said he would be okay. He promised to eat properly, sleep well, keep working, and take good care of Dowdo. But after my soul left my body, I saw Fu Chuan holding my corpse, weeping like a child. For 2 whole days, he was like a lone beast that had lost its mate, on the verge of losing control. He wouldn't let anyone touch my body. Even if I have to be cremated, he wept day and night. He sat on the ground, clutching my hand, calling my name over and over. He called me his wife. The day I was cremated, he charged forward like a man possessed. He looked like he was ready to climb into the crematorium with her. It took several of his male friends a great deal of effort to restrain him. Brother Chuan, get a hold of yourself. Sister-in-law would be heartbroken to see you like this. That's right, H1. Please accept our condolences. Fu Chuan suddenly went limp, as if all the strength had been drained from his body. He knelt on the ground, clutching my portrait, his head hung low. He broke down into uncontrollable sobs, and yet, I could only drift helplessly in the air, frantic and spinning in place. I, too, lost my mind. Like a madman, I struggled and strained to drift downward, desperate to hold him in my arms just one more time, but then, a tremendous force from behind pulled me away. When I awoke once more, I was already at the river of forgetfulness, yet for 2 whole years, I tried to cross and could not. I could never forget the past, until even the king of hell grew weary of me. That's when I was given a chance to live again, though it was in another's body, but I'm already content, just to see him one more time, to see that he's still alive and well. That alone makes me happy. Mr. Fu, what's wrong? It's me, He Ping. I turned around, forcing a smile onto my face. I am He Ping. He Ping, an ordinary, plain-looking girl. He is someone with whom I can have no future or further entanglement. I don't know either. I might leave this world again at any moment. That's why I can't let him recognize me. I can't bear to make him suffer the pain of losing me all over again. In the dark pools of his eyes, I could even see my own reflection. Unremarkable, ordinary. Her skin was a little dark, with a smattering of freckles across her cheeks. He stared at me intently, a profound and turbulent emotion churning in the depths of his pupils. Mr. Fu, he snapped back to reality. A flicker of disappointment passed through his eyes. It's fine. He let go of my hand. You remind me of someone. I couldn't help but ask. Who? He watched as Dowdo charged back towards us with the frisbee in his mouth, his tone somber. My wife. My heart skipped a beat. Your wife. I heard she passed away. He gave a soft grunt of acknowledgement. He sat down on a bench on the lawn. 2 years, he said softly. She was just like you. She'd add garlic whenever she burned the food. I'm starting to sweat a little. So he did notice the taste. She's not much of a cook either. Her potato shreds are always cut too thick. Even your cooking tastes similar. A sudden pang of guilt washed over me. Just now, watching you throw the frisbee, for a moment there, I almost mistook her for her. He stretched out his legs, resting his elbows on his knees. As Dodo brought the frisbee over, wanting to give it to me, I gave it a meaningful look. It actually understood. With head bowed, I handed the frisbee to Fu Chuan. Fu Chuan chuckled. But how could you possibly be her? Back when I was with her, Dowdo would always run to her without a second thought. The dead cannot be brought back to life. I must be going crazy, mistaking you for her like that. I didn't know what to say, much less how to comfort him. You have to look forward, Mr. Fu. Your wife would certainly want you to be well. I think that Miss Anna seems like a very nice person. Fu Chuan's expression suddenly went blank. He stood up, put his hands in his pockets, and left. Starting tomorrow, I'll be staying at Jiuling Mountain for a while. Please take good care of Dowdo for me. How come you have to leave again so soon after just getting back? I watched his retreating figure with a pang of reluctance. I saw him take out his phone and make a call. Secretary Chen. Please gather and organize all the important company documents from the recent period. Right. We're heading to Jiuling Mountain tomorrow. So, he had arranged for Secretary Chen to accompany him. I stood there, at a complete loss. Suddenly, I had no idea what to do. I've already seen him, with Secretary Chen there. He seemed ready to move on. My existence has become dispensable. The day after Fu Chuan left, he was going to stay at Jiuling Mountain for half a month. On the fourth day, I started tidying up the room. His room was sparsely furnished, as clean and minimalist as a show home. I couldn't find a single thing of mine either. Could he have thrown it all away? Maybe it's for the best. The sight of it brings back memories. Keeping it would only bring more sorrow. The entire villa was in remarkably good condition, with hardly any particularly dirty areas. It features a whole home smart system. I didn't really have to do much of anything myself. When I got to cleaning that locked room, curiosity got the better of me. The lock was a keypad. I only tried one combination. It's my birthday. The lock clicked open. The door slowly swung open. It was pitch black inside. So I opened the curtains. Dust motes danced in the air. I finally saw what was hidden in this room. The furnishings, the furniture, every single thing in this room was an exact replica of the basement we lived in for 5 years. If not for the sound of the robot vacuum, I could almost believe I'd been transported back to that old basement. Even the bathroom was decorated to look exactly like that cramped, dingy toilet from the basement. I looked into the mirror. In front of the mirror, my comb and skincare products are still there. Some of them have even expired. He couldn't bring himself to throw them away. Back when I washed my hair in the basement bathroom, the hot water would often run out halfway through, leaving me shivering and grimacing from the cold. He boiled water for me in the kettle while helping me rinse. By the time it was his turn to wash, the hot water had run out. To save a bit on the electricity bill, he just rinsed off with the lukewarm water. After drying my hair, I quickly burrowed under the covers. I wanted to warm his hands. He hugged his arms, keeping them from me. It's cold. I'll hold you in a bit, okay? And now, in the wardrobe, all of my things were there. My clothes hung side by side with his. It felt as if we were an old married couple who had spent decades together, including the bed sheets. And the bed was still made with my favorite daisy print floral sheet set. I walked over and sat down on the edge of the bed. I opened the drawer. I took out my diary, sometime after my death. Someone continued writing in my diary. It was Fu Chuan's handwriting, bold, flowing, and unmistakably his. It's just that some parts look like they've been smudged by water stains. November 7th, 2022, Wenjixia. Today is the start of winter. I had dumplings. Did you get any over there? I made extra at noon and left them on the table. I wonder if you got to eat them. It's been 2 months already since you left. Down there. Are you going hungry? Do you have enough money? Are any other spirits giving you trouble? If so, send me a dream, my love. I'll find a powerful Taoist priest to set things right for you. November 22nd, 2022, Wenjixia. It's snowing lightly today. It's so cold. The floor heating is on full blast at home, but I still feel chilled. Perhaps it's because I can't hold you anymore. In winters past, you were like a little furnace, holding you. I could fall peacefully asleep. Shashya. Now I lie awake night after night, unable to find any rest. January 21st, 2023. Wenjixia. I've come to your parents' house for the new year. They're in good health, so don't worry. Wenjixia. I've taken all your childhood photos. There are so many I've never seen before. So you had an awkward phase too. Your parents said the old man next door lost his wife recently. Then, a few days ago, he woke up in the middle of the night claiming he saw his late wife. He was so terrified he started screaming and had to be hospitalized. Wenjixia. I'm so upset. Everyone else's wife comes to visit them. Why can't you just come and see me in my dreams? I've never once dreamed of you. February 7th, 2023. Work has been so hectic lately. I'm exhausted, but it seems this way I can numb my mind, which keeps thinking of you, just a little, so that I might not hurt so much. March 10th, 2023. I'm really upset with you, and I'm not going to be easily appeased. I finally dreamed of you last night. I tried to talk to you, but you ran off in an instant. Dowda was whining all night, too. Is it really you? You came to see me. Next time, give me a heads up before you come. Look how long I've gone without shaving. May 12th, 2023, Shashya. I have so much money now, more than we could ever spend in 100 lifetimes. But with you gone, none of it means a thing. June 1st, 2023, Xia. I went and made a donation. I fulfilled your old wish. I donated a great deal of money to the children in the mountain regions and set up a fund for them. I also built quite a few elementary schools for them. You'd be happy for me, right? My tears haven't stopped since the moment I saw the diary, but when I read the entries from the following days, I'm chilled to the bone. April 28th, 2024. I've almost finished my bucket list. There's just one last item left, hiking up Jiuling Mountain to watch the sunrise. Wen Jixia, please forgive me for breaking my promise. I can't move on, please, forgive me, Xia, wait for me, I'll be with you soon." Reading this, a chill ran through my entire body, as if I'd fallen into an icy abyss. Was Fu Chuan going to kill himself? "How did you get in here?" Anna's scream shattered the silence of the room. She patted her chest, still shaken. "Oh my god, this room was locked. How did you get in? Didn't I tell you, mister? Fu doesn't allow anyone in this room. Did you do this on purpose? Something's off about you. Are you here to steal from the Fu family? Speak up. If you don't, get out of the Fu estate right now. You're fired." Anna, shouldn't she be with Fu Chuan at Jiuling Mountain? Ignoring her stream of insults, I pulled out my phone and dialed Fu Chuan's number. The phone was off. Panic completely overwhelmed me. My legs nearly gave out beneath me. I rushed over and grabbed her arm. "Where's Fu Chuan? Where in the Jiuling Mountains is he?" When Anna and I arrived at the Jiuling Mountain villa, the hotel room was empty. His luggage and other belongings were still there. The hotel staff said he went hiking with his backpack yesterday afternoon. Anna was also terrified. "How could that be, mister? Fu has always been perfectly normal. There's no way he would do something like that." The mountain search and rescue team has arrived. I joined them in the search. In the Jiuling Mountains this season, the weather is highly changeable. It's very easy to get hypothermic, and once hypothermia sets in, a person is in grave danger. As it approached midnight, a thick fog descended upon the mountains. Rescue personnel recommended suspending the search to avoid causing new casualties. Yet, deep down, something told me that Fu Chuan was close by. While they were resting, I set off down a narrow path. 2 hours later, in a mountain hollow, I found Fu Chuan, who had fallen unconscious. His leg was injured. I hoisted him onto my back. The advantage of this current body became clear. It was robust and strong, capable of carrying a man like Fu Chuan, who stood nearly 6'3". Without much strain, the mountain moon lit our path forward. I called his name. "Chuan, stay awake. You promised me, if you dare fall asleep, I swear I'll never speak to you again. If you dare come looking for me, I'll reincarnate right away. I'll grow up and marry someone else." "Don't marry someone else." The person on his back stirred, their voice hoarse and their consciousness seemingly hazy. Xia, must be dreaming again. This dream is too wonderful. I wish I could stay asleep forever." My voice choked with tears. "You have to wake up. You have to look after my parents, and take care of Dodo. Fu Chuan, you promised me. You can't go back on your word." I carried him to the nearest forest cabin along the path. I notified the rescue team. I lit a fire and gave him some supplements to regain his strength. His mouth was clamped shut. His thin lips were pressed into a tight line. His lashes cast a deep, shadowy veil across his face. Left with no choice, I took a mouthful of the supplement, leaned down, and forced it into his mouth. His lips were parched, while mine were ice cold. As I pried his mouth open, his Adam's apple bobbed. He finally managed to swallow it. I repeated the process. I fed him an entire can of supplement. His body was gradually warming up. Just as I finished feeding him the last bite and stood up, his hand suddenly rose and pressed against the nape of my neck, forcing us to deepen the kiss. Our lips and tongues met, intertwining and chasing one another. I was crying, and so was he. But he eventually passed out from exhaustion and fell into a brief sleep. The rescue team had arrived as well. Anna rushed over, her face streaked with tears, appearing genuinely worried about Fu Chuan. "Fu Chuan has been hospitalized. It seems he thought what happened in the cabin was just a dream." I went with the driver to see him, but Anna stopped me. "The tension isn't as sharp as it used to be, but there's still hostility. I don't know what you're trying to do, and I thank you for saving Mr. Fu yesterday, but you need to understand, your actions have gone far beyond the scope of your duties." She produced a thick envelope. "There's 50,000 yuan in here, as my thanks for saving Mr. Fu. However, you're fired." I didn't pick up. I took one last look at him from the window before leaving. Fu Chuan, I had a dream that went on and on. In it, Xia came back. I even dreamed she leaned down and kissed me, and I dreamed she was crying and scolding me, saying if I kept being so stubborn, she'd marry someone else. He would never allow it. If she were to actually marry someone else, he would be driven mad with jealousy. Truth be told, this wasn't the first time he'd considered ending it all. That first time, it wasn't long after Xia had been laid to rest. He stood on the rooftop, watching the endless stream of traffic below. He was just about to throw himself over the edge. Someone took hold of his hand. It was a little girl. She had a round face and was holding a rubber band. Her eyes looked just like Xia's. She told me, "Brother, if you fall from here, you'll be smashed to pieces." It would be a terrible sight. and your family would surely be heartbroken. Yeah, it's definitely going to be hideous. Xia loved nothing more than touching his face. If he were too ugly, she'd definitely be put off. Later, he found a wish list in Xia's diary. Those were all the things he wanted to do with me. He had to finish these things first. That way, when he went to see her again, she might not be as angry with him. He ended up being busy with it for 2 whole years, but to him, time seemed to stretch on forever. When Xia, I've come to realize that the days without you are the longest and most trying times in this world. That day, when I got home, he was shocked to see a woman in his house, and she was holding Daodu. Daodu's gaze was so gentle, he felt, this woman, there was something about her that reminded him of his wife. In reality, their looks and figures were completely different, yet for some reason, he couldn't shake the feeling, this person, she is the reincarnation of his late wife, but he couldn't say it out loud. He was afraid of frightening her, and he was afraid that he was only having such thoughts because he was going mad. It wasn't until after she finished cooking and threw the frisbee, that he was completely and utterly certain, she was Wen Xia, but she didn't seem to have any intention of acknowledging him. She even tried to set him up with another woman. How could there possibly be 2 people with identical habits and mannerisms in this world? He was completely baffled. I need to get to Jiuling Mountain right away. He needs to ask the master if Wen Xia has returned. If so, he must fulfill his vow without delay, and then hide her away. The master is in seclusion. On the 3rd day, when he saw the master simply told him, "It feels like an old friend has come." That was it. He knelt in the temple, kowtowing again and again. He was so overjoyed he didn't know what to do with his hands and feet. There was no signal in the mountains. On the way down the mountain, he slipped into a ravine, hit his head, and broke his leg. He, too, fell unconscious. In his dazed state, he felt as if someone was carrying him on their back. Through her tears, she begged me to live on. He, too, wanted to live, but she just doesn't understand. The only reason he's held on this long is her. She's his entire world. Make money, buy a big house. All of it, every last bit, is for her. She was the very reason he kept moving forward, and now, he had lost his heart. How does one go on living? After waking up in the hospital, that's when he found out, Chen Anna had actually fired her behind his back. He flew into a rage, got straight out of bed, and fell to the floor. Anna Chen was frozen in fear, as the orderly helped him back into bed. Tears welled up in Anna Chen's eyes. "Mr. Fu, I've been with you for 2 years. How could you treat me like this over a maid?" He gestured toward the door. "You're not the only one on my secretarial team. The others are simply delayed abroad due to a major contract. The only reason you've had the chance to be by my side lately is because Secretary Liu took a liking to you and privately asked me to give you more opportunities to prove yourself. However, when I reviewed the security footage from the day I returned, I noticed you seem to have deliberately changed your clothes at my home. You even left a piece of lingerie hidden in the room, didn't you? Who exactly were you putting on that little show for?" He sneered at her mercilessly, his eyes full of disgust. "You're not even worth a single hair on my wife's head, Chen Anna, but what does that have to do with the caregiver?" He couldn't be bothered to explain further, pointing at the door. "Get out, you're fired." He couldn't wait to have someone fetch his crutches so he could go home. He desperately tried calling her phone, but the call wouldn't go through. He sent people to look for her. He was even ready to call the police, yet no one believed that person was his wife, who had died long ago. A terrible thought suddenly crossed his mind. What if she disappeared again? Fu Chuan was pacing around the room like a madman. He saw Dodo, restless and agitated in the room. He told someone to let go of Dodo's leash. Dodo shot out of the room like a rocket. In the end, Daodu found her in a small garden near their home. Just like that year when they had a fight, she turned and ran out without a second thought, and sure enough, she was found in that same little garden. Now, she's crouched on the flower bed, watching the ants fight. Despite the completely different appearance, he remained absolutely convinced. This person was Wen Xia. Xia. When Xia gave a start, she turned her head reflexively. Her eyes were wide with shock. It's just the same as before. The kind of person who can't hide a thing on their face, like if they found money. Wen Xia. I followed Fu Chuan back to his house. We sat in the room he had arranged, nestled together. It felt like we were back in the old days. We watched the movie playing on the projector. We didn't say much, yet, for some reason, I felt a deep sense of peace. I don't know if it's because I'm a reincarnated soul, but I wasn't the least bit tired at night. Fu Chuan took some painkillers and fell asleep quickly. His arms stayed wrapped tightly around me, refusing to let go even in his sleep. The 7th day was almost here. I had a vague sense that my time was up, Fu Chuan, and I finished another simple, home-cooked meal. Then I crawled back into bed. I gave him his medicine. A moment later, he suddenly asked me, "So you're still leaving?" I nodded. "Yeah, these few days were stolen time, after all." I nestled against his chest and poked his cheek. "Oh, you, remember, don't cry anymore." "Okay, I can see it, and when I see it, it just makes me worry sick." He gave a quiet hum. I kept on with my anxious rambling. "Promise me one more thing." He was silent for a moment, then agreed. I turned his face to mine, locking eyes with him. His eyes were rimmed with red. "Every summer from now on, I want you to go see the ocean for me, take my photo, and visit every different sea in this world." He was completely overcome with tears. "My body feels lighter and lighter." He lowered his head and kissed my lips. "Shushya, don't go, Shushya. I love you. I love you too. H1. I hope you'll cherish the days to come and live on well." Finally, I vanished from that room. But I know, he won't get so hung up on things like he used to. Extra. "Tell me, what's really eating you?" I was squatting at the head of the Niha Bridge, lecturing a man who refused to cross. "You want to be a holdout like me? Well, look at you now, stuck here as punishment, helping others cross." The man let out an ah, and asked, "How long is the punishment?" I said, "I don't know either, maybe 100 years, just wait and see. I'll wait for Achwan's life to end, and wait for him to come down here. I'll reincarnate with him." The man hastily gulped down the mangpa soup. On second thought, "Never mind." Mangpa and I couldn't stop laughing as we watched the man's fleeing figure. When Jixia, suddenly, someone on the bridge called out a name. My eyes instantly welled up with tears. "Only 10 years, Fu Chuan, you." Fu Chuan's lips curved into a smile. "Died of old age." "I don't believe it," Mangpa whispered to me. "He's not lying. He saved 3 drowning children yesterday. His good deeds were fulfilled. So he passed away peacefully and descended here." "Alright, I'm not mad anymore." Wiping my tears, I reached out to him from a distance. "Let's go then. I've been waiting for you for so long." He stepped forward and took my hand. He pulled me into a hug, his gaze tender and adoring. "I've been waiting a long time too, darling." That's all for today's story. If you've listened this far, please leave a comment saying, "Have a wonderful day." We at Wigwam wish everyone happiness every single day.